marijuana, to your own kind. You talk to your own kind. To your own kind. Catch right here. Catch right here. We know the truth about pot. We know the truth. We know the truth. We know the truth about pot. Not from books, but from experience.
Nice score.
Welcome to the Growing with Fishes podcast, everyone. Thanks. Oh, yeah, sorry, wrong podcast. Welcome to the Last Week in Cannabis podcast. Sorry, it's been a long day. Should get the podcast right. You know. Anyways, it's pretty par for the course for our podcast is botching the entry. We had an awesome entry thanks to Arise One, DJ Idle Hands. So check him out on Instagram and Twitter and all the other social medias, Facebook and everything else. Yeah. You're helping us work on some song intros for the different podcasts that we do. We'll have those all up here soon. This is the first podcast that we're doing for the Last Week in Cannabis. It's going to be a news show. We ended up having a lot of people that really enjoyed the news section of our other podcasts that we were doing, Growing with Fishes. And they said, hey, why don't you do a separate podcast and cover them a little bit more in depth, or at least maybe more articles per week than you guys were doing before. Yeah.
Steve said, why don't we do all the news every week?
Yeah, so we're going to try and do a whole bunch of different news articles. At least the important ones are the ones that I feel are important. And yeah, so this is what we're going to do is we have a whole list of different ones, and then we're going to I'm going to post all the different topics that we cover in the description here at the end. So if you're watching us at home, you'll be able to check out the different articles and read them for yourself, and also give credit to the people who put this stuff together that allowed us to share this information with you guys. We're going to introduce ourselves. First, I'll let we have Roger with us today, and we also have Brian Grow. I'll let Roger introduce himself first.
Hi, I'm Roger. I'm Roger Latewood, and I'm administrator for ilovegrowingmarijuana.com. I've been moderating and teaching people how to grow cannabis for 12 years. And I've been an activist since the 60s.
And I'm sorry. And I'm Brain Grow, and I'm just a aquaponic YouTuber. Aquaponic cannabis, that is.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. I'm Steve. I own the Ponics. I've also been teaching aquaponic cannabis classes for almost 5 years now. I've worked in 5 different countries now in total, or worked on projects in 5 different countries in both aquaponics and cannabis, including Jamaica, United States, Canada, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, a couple of other islands, as well as quite a few other projects in multiple different states in the United States. And yeah, among many other things. If you're interested in finding out more, definitely check out my YouTube channel, which is Potent Ponics on YouTube, or check us out more on potentponics.com. And yeah, we'll have more information on the different stuff that I work on the other channel or other show if you're interested. Okay, so this particular show is dedicated to news, events, policies, legal decisions, and important announcements related to the Cannabis World. Like there wasn't a lot of really good cannabis coverage out there, at least the stuff that I felt was important. So just like the other podcasts, I felt like there wasn't any good aquaponic cannabis related content on YouTube. I thought, hey, let's just start one with a bunch of the best people that are out there, including myself. And many other the people doing it on YouTube and other growers and people writing articles on aquaponic cannabis and people in the equipment industry. Let's do the same thing kind of with a news show and try to cover that. So we have a bunch of different articles this week that we're going to cover. I don't know, maybe we have too many articles this week, but we'll see how the show goes. Maybe I need to prioritize a little bit more. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. So
No, we'll always have a show next week if we don't do them all.
Right? Or maybe
Already
we'll split the show up and we'll figure something out. It amazed me when I actually sat down and looked at how many good news articles there were that maybe people wouldn't be aware of normally. Yeah, so.
Can I ask, were these all actually from this last week, or did you gather all your favorite to start the first show off with all the articles you think needs to be out there? Or is this last week?
Everything that I have here was posted from June 28th to March 5th.
Okay.
Or I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
March
Just
5th. June 28th. Damn it. May 28th.
So it is
Sorry,
last week.
One too many dabs today.
We have a very open policy here at the show.
Yes. Solving this dabs will do you.
Dab will do you. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Actually, do you want to come on and say that? Actually, that's probably the best news story that we have. And actually, you can even talk about it a minute for a second. Actually, so hold on. We actually have a personal news story from the DJ on the last week, and I'm gonna even let him sit down in my chair. First, actually, he's gonna come on in a second. So, Micah, the DJ, his name is Arise One. The DJ name is Arise One. We're gonna try and get him on camera here in a second. Let's see if I can scuttle over here in the corner. There we go. I'm gonna give him the headset. I'm gonna give him the headset here, and he's gonna tell us why this week is an important week. He also explained some of the case law that he helped set as well, which is really important for those of you that at home that are doing law. It's kind of cool article to start the show off on.
Cool.
All right, hope everybody can hear me. So it's an important week for me, and I guess anyone that's doing extractions. Last week in cannabis, I celebrated 1 year of freedom. I was acquitted by a jury of 12 from 3 felony charges that the San Diego police brought against me when they didn't find what they thought they were going to find in my house, which was that I was growing on a commercial scale. They thought I was producing dabs or wax or whatever. They asked for me where my dab lab was when the SWAT team came. But it was a year-long nightmare between no-knock SWAT raid and seeing the jury. But what did come to light and kind of set a little bit of case law standard for prosecutions in California, at least, is they consistently through the entire trial were referring to butane honey oil and how they had found 1/12 of a gram of it in some Pyrex dish in my house, which was later determined to be falsified information by the police. But ultimately, the best witness for my defense was a prosecution witness, the police lab technician. She, like, the second question that she was asked was, did you encounter butane honey oil when you were given this substance from this Pyrex dish? And she said, I'm not allowed to refer to the substance which I encountered as butane honey oil. And even the DA looked really confused at the time. I said, why not? And she said, well, we're a narcotics lab. We only have the ability to test for the presence of narcotics, not for the presence of butane. So I had an expert witness, Andrew Pham, former lead scientist at SC Labs, major testing laboratory, who did test, the other, whatever, half of a 1/24th of a gram of the substance they encountered, and it was not found to have butane. More than likely, what they scraped out of my Pyrex dish was burnt cannabis butter. So the lab technician was saying I can only refer to what I encountered as concentrated cannabis, and my public defender was Dennis Linez. Thank you very much. Was quick to jump on that and object and say you can't legally refer to it as concentrated cannabis either unless you have a sample of the original cannabis from which this other substance you encountered came from. So for the rest of the trial, she was only allowed to say that she encountered trace amounts of cannabis. I had stopped growing about a year and a half before the raid happened. I had sold any interest that I had in any dispensaries. I had just gotten custody of my, at the time, 15-year-old son, and was focusing strictly on organic vegetable production, where I was a champion in 8 classes at the county fair. And they literally trampled right through the vegetable garden to come raid the house, and then testified in court that there was no vegetable garden in front of my house. And in fact, my Google photo showed the picture of the sunset I took the night before, and right in front of the house with the vegetable garden there. Multiple Facebook pages for Purple Tree Farms is what I had named the farm. I had a big jacaranda tree over the vegetable garden. And so there was probably about 100 people raided, and it was called Operation Shattered Dreams that happened that weekend. And I think 94 or 96 people that weren't able to make bail on very similar charges that I had were freed and got their charges dropped, because the prosecution realized that if you put it in front of a jury, if these people had been waiting on my case to go through, I'll do the same thing that I did and put it in front of a jury, their own lab technicians is going to be their worst enemies. And they haven't really come up with any hurdle around that yet. As far as I know, the narcotics lab still doesn't have a machine that can test for butane, hexane, or any of the other gases that they refer to as volatile in the new regulations that they have, since now it's apparently going to be legal to make extractions even with volatile chemicals, as long as you pay them enough money. So that's why it's an important week for me. And if you do live in California and you are making extractions and you get the no-knock SWAT treatment, or even a nice warrant where they come knock on your door and just ask you to look around the place, which is really what I was surprised. If you are arrested and brought up on charges of manufacturing using a volatile chemical, plead not guilty. Request a speedy trial. Don't fall for any of the crap where they want you to waive your time. Yeah. If you, so if you're wrongfully arrested for it, or even rightfully arrested for it, plead not guilty. Use your right to remain silent. Most importantly, when they take you to the station, say, I'm not answering any questions without a lawyer present. They'll get really angry and they'll say, put this motherfucker in jail. And that's where you'll go until you can make bail or find out what current case law is and how you want to take a plea deal. In this case, in California at least, don't take a plea deal. Plead not guilty. Request your right to a speedy trial. Do not waive your time. Anytime you go to court, they're going to ask you to waive your time. You need more time to prepare your defense when it's their job to prove you guilty. Waiving your time is only in the best interest of the prosecution, because it gives them more time to build a case against you and find more witnesses against you, things of that nature. If you say, I want my trial in 30 days, you keep your foot down on it, which is what, in hindsight, I wish I would have done it. It wouldn't have been a long, crazy year. I forgot about them having to prove me guilty, and I spent a year ensuring that I was going to prove my own innocence before we took it to the jury. And once I found a lot of major in the evidence report, particularly in the pictures where they said they found certain things, that's when I was ready to go to trial, because it was pretty easy to point out in front of a jury that they had lied, they planted evidence, put multiple butane or one butane can in multiple areas of the house and took pictures of it after they took me to jail. But in a year, they couldn't come up with any witnesses or any better lies than what they had. And at that point in time, I was ready to go. So number one, remain silent. Number two, plead not guilty. Number three, speedy trial. And ask if the lab technician has tested for the presence of butane, because that's not something that they have the ability to do. To my knowledge, any of the people that were arrested in Operation Shattered Dreams, the only people that were convicted of anything were those that accepted a plea deal. So 1 year later, I don't have too much to show for it, but I got really, really good at DJing because it was the only work I could find when my background check shows pending triple felony. So also still just waiting on the San Diego Police Department to expunge that arrest record and show the acquittal on paper instead of pending charges when the trial's been over for a year. So that was Last Week in Cannabis for me a year ago. But I think the truth's in the excuse you, Steve. The processes have not changed as far as I know, and like I said, nobody else from Operation Shattered Dreams stayed in jail more than 24 hours after my trial, and nobody else is. There hasn't been a major raid on butane honey oil in San Diego County since my trial. So maybe
that is good news. That is really good news. Fantastic.
Yeah, because they leaned on me to take a plea deal the whole way. Even when we had the jury picked, as soon as those 12 sat down, they took me out in the hallway and said, "Just give us some names and this can all go away." I said, "This is going to be too much fun right now. Like, I'm ready to go." And they could have, if they'd have said that a year prior, I might have, out of sheer fear, I don't know who's to say what I would have done. My bail was $1 million going in and got reduced down to 150,000 after 3 days, because they were throwing felony child endangerment and felony child abuse at me since they were claiming that as felony manufacture, felony child endangerment, felony child abuse, with the option to convict for a third lesser misdemeanor, and ended up with a unanimous acquittal on all charges, even with a member of the San Diego Sheriff's Department on my jury. I think even he, well, for starters, he was a black sheriff, so I'm sure he sees from both sides of the law, like how often cops lie. Every single member of my jury has all befriended me, and most of them have actually taken me out for drinks since the case. So it's not something that you ever really want to go through, but if you have to, remain strong and let 12 of your friends decide. Don't let the district attorney decide to tell you, to intimidate you into how much probation you're going to get without making him do his job and present a case. Because they need 12 people to agree. You only need one dissenter, and the worst that can happen is a mistrial, and unless there's new evidence, they can't retry you for it. So the odds are in your favor. Less than 1% of all arrests end in a trial. 99% of everything ends with a plea deal. So if you're really not guilty, don't let them scare you. Make them pick 12 people very well. Southern California, 2015, I wasn't real scared of. They would have been hard pressed to find 12 people that would send somebody to prison for 3 felonies over what ended up being 1.2 grams of flour, 1/12 of a gram of something from the bottom of a baking dish in my house, and they weren't even able to show the jury a lot of the things that they said they collected, like the cans of butane. They were all still in my house when I bailed out. They didn't even clean up their mess. So they also couldn't produce any of the can of butter that they did find, which kind of let me know right away that anything that the cops are the robbers, anything they take ends up back on the streets, or they have a party with it. Because they did find 560 grams of can of butter in my freezer for some terminal patients that I was baking for. But when the jury wanted to see that, it wasn't there, nor was the 1,000-something grams of trim that I was using to make the butter. So it goes somewhere.
Out of the cop car on the way there.
Yeah, it couldn't be found in the locker that had all my case stuff. Even my blasting tubes could not be found. Nothing that related to making butane honey oil was there by the time trial came around. So don't really fear the cops. They're as inept as they're portrayed to be often. So that's good news. And that was Last Week in Cannabis for me, celebrating 1 year of freedom and almost a year of working with Steve here. So excited to be back in the game with Aquaponics Steve here. I'm going to turn it back over to him now. But thank you all for listening, and tune in next week too.
Great story. Great story.
Thanks, Micah, for joining us.
Anytime.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All righty.
So,
Well, let's get to the news. Oh, go ahead.
can I ask you something real quick, Steve, so I can put it out here to a friend that wants to listen to the show? He just Skyped me and asked me where to find it. So what search criteria did I tell him to?
Go to YouTube and type in Ponics.
That's what I told him, Potent Ponics. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Got it then. All right. We might have a new viewer.
Okay. Yeah. Potent Ponics on YouTube. Or Last Week in Cannabis. You can also search that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. For Potent Products, probably find it easier. Okay, should we start with the news show? Or the articles? Okay, so the first article we have is from newscientist.com. And they say that cannabis could help crack addiction. Quote from their article is, could cannabis help crack cocaine addicts kick the habit? People were 89% more likely to reduce their crack use when they were taking cannabis. Animal studies suggest that the component CBD might be the best bet. This component is thought to interfere with reward pathways in the brain, potentially limiting the reward feelings and taking some addictive drugs, says Volkov. From doing lots of studies on animals, CBD has been shown to benefit in reducing drug intake, she says. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different opioid studies that have proven that states that have legal cannabis have much lower opioid addiction, and opioid use, opioid prescription, much lower. It's pretty cool to see this stuff broken down into a more scientific study, especially with relation to more addictive drugs such as crack or other stuff that you really just don't want people taking on a regular basis, at least.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring it up, but it mentioned it in the article how the CBD actually can help with addictions of all kinds. Because I think it may have been an an article that you've actually shared in the Aquaponic Facebook group that had all the benefits of CBD. And I remember reading through that article and reading something about how it can actually help with all types of addictions as well. And I thought that was really interesting. So, I mean, this is just more evidence of that, to solidify that that's what it actually can help with.
Absolutely. The study was done with 122 crack users. 89% of them showed a reduced risk or reduced likelihood of crack use after 30 months compared to a control that had no cannabis use. So that's how they performed the study. So, alrighty. We'll get to the second article. The second one is from 7daysvt.com. And they say work begins to craft new Vermont legalization bill. As it's written now, the bill would legalize possession. The governor just vetoed the bill there in Vermont. But as it's written now, the bill would legalize possession for marijuana, anyone over 21 years old. Would also allow adults to grow up to 2 mature plants at a time. Legalization would go into effect in July of 2018. Would not legalize marijuana sales as far as stores go, which is one of the big sticking points. Scott says he's seeking a few revisions, including the allowance of sales, beefing up the penalties for using marijuana around children, extending the deadline for the commission to study full pot legalization in Vermont as well. Those changes could be made in time for legalization to be planned in time for the June 21st veto session. So if it's not changed by June 21st, it's probably going to be vetoed. So hopefully they'll get that passed. It's pretty exciting to see more states, get legalized. But some of the biggest things you want to make sure you have, and we'll touch on this, and this will be a reoccurring theme on the show, is making sure that different, your local township or county doesn't have the ability to tell you can't have medicine or can't have access to something that you have the legal right to have. It's totally bullshit that a township or county should be able to refuse sale of cannabis, especially when, look at Colorado, where it's bringing in millions and millions of dollars to the local schools, local homeless shelters, and other local social services. There's no reason why this stuff should be, remotely restricted. So making sure that your local township does, whatever bill it is that you have with legalization, protects your right to grow at home and protects your right to have access to medicine from a store. The other thing they like to do is prevent local, allow townships and counties to prevent people from growing at home. Again, that's equally as bullshit. There's no reason why you shouldn't have the right to grow your own medicine. You can brew your own alcohol. Why the hell shouldn't you be able to grow your own weed? There's no, there's restrictions on volume of alcohol brewing, but you can make everything else at home. There's no reason why they should allow any of those restrictions. It's all bullshit, and there's no reason for it.
It was only done for thousands and thousands of years until 80 years ago. So
yep.
So maybe it's time to get back to the norm again.
Yep, we have evidence of cannabis growth going back to almost 11,000 years. As far as with humans, we have medicinal use going back to almost 3,000 years.
Right.
So there's no reason at all for us to ever have any question as to whether or not this stuff should be legal.
And the U.S. government has done studies every 10 to 20 years throughout for decades since the prohibition of cannabis, and found it to have medicinal effects and not to be harmful or something that'll kill anybody or be a narcotic. But that was all hidden in the private libraries until just a few years ago, and that's why we're really jumping all this legislation and things are changing now. Because senior people, upper middle aged and senior people are now realizing they've been lied to for 50, 60 years.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and not to mention how impossible it is to convince somebody that has been fed this false information their whole life that it's actually a lie.
Well, it helped when the Library of Congress had to release all those studies where the government did it and they could never prove their own case. So they kept putting it and hiding it. So,
well, not to mention the fact that the government has a patent on cannabis as a neuroprotectant. Like, that's, what the fuck is that shit?
Yeah, that's Marlboro. Sorry.
But anyways, I also want to say hello to everyone in chat. We have Coyote Grows, Chicken Hole, and Jules. Thanks for joining the show. Jules says, I'm a person who got off methadone oxy 2 weeks ago. After 10 years of use, medical marijuana has saved my life, my family, and I'm completely a new person. Robert Bergman Genetics. So big props to him, and I hope you continue on your road to recovery, brother, and best of luck to you. You guys there? Hello? Did we lose
Yeah,
Roger?
I'm here. I just seen that Roger had dropped out.
That's why it sounded quiet. All right. We'll move on to the next article here. This is from ganjapreneur.com. Nevada's June 1st early start may face delays. So there's a new court ruling there that might end up pushing back their delay. They're supposed to start on July 1st, But last Wednesday, the Nevada Attorney General's office filed a complaint against the marijuana industry. Said that there's some issues with the way that question 2 on the ballot was worded that could complicate the when this all gets started. Mostly revolving how that it's taxed and how they might not be able to properly tax it and how they're worried about that. I guess it's kind of the long and short of it. So we'll see how that all plays out in relation to that. They haven't had a ruling yet as far as a follow-up, but we'll try to cover that in next week's episode.
Sorry, I lost my connection for a minute. It said my computer went to sleep, which I don't understand, but I think I'm caught up now. Just let you know.
Are we that boring?
Sorry.
Your computer even
My
went to
computer.
sleep on me. Damn.
Yeah, my computer says you've been your call's been disrupted because your computer went to sleep. Okay,
Yeah.
right in the middle of that. I just wanted to say Chicken Hole's a friend of ours, and you were bringing up the your friend there that talked about getting off methadone. Chicken
Well,
Hole's done the
from
same
chat.
thing.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
Chat, Chicken Hole.
Yeah, Chicken Hole's been. He was one of the guys I was telling you that might be a good guest for the other show, but this is a news show, so we'll get back to that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll try to get that put together. Alrighty, so the next article is judge temporarily delays medical pot licenses in Baltimore. Judge temporarily order a restraining order on medical marijuana licenses after it was shown that there was some racial favoritism among the 15 finalists who would get a cannabis production license in the city of Baltimore. So now they're going to have a new hearing on June 4th. And there hasn't been any public announcements about the follow-up since then. So apparently there was some kind of racial bias, or at least that's the accusation.
So they were
Well, I'll consider that good
applied and
news that they that.
have it.
Yeah,
Oh,
not all
I'm sorry.
AAs are bad, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's definitely pretty good news to my ears to actually to know that they actually found that out. You know, because that's definitely one thing that I have had discussions about with people is that like especially just in the way the laws are set up in certain states, you know, some of them might restrict certain parties from going into the businesses and whatnot, and that all stems back to the what's it called, the unbalanced arrests that are made in minorities. But I mean,
Yep.
this is, I guess, something that probably is not related to that.
Well,
To the legislation.
it sounds like they're talking about the fact that a bunch of people applied for these licenses, and they were one-sided the way it came out racially. But I know how to solve that the way Pennsylvania does with the liquor license. You have to win a lottery. Everybody that wants to pays a bunch of money, whatever they decide, and you put it in. They draw the numbers out, and the people that the numbers get drawn, that's who gets to be commercial growing for the state. Instead of just some guy in an office saying, this guy gets a license, this guy doesn't get a license. That's what happened here, it sounds like, in Baltimore. I would think that if they went to a lottery system, that would solve a lot of this. Go to lottery systems, you know, and then that you can't complain. It was, you know, like everybody puts their ticket in and they spin the barrel around and they draw the ticket out, and that's who gets to grow pot.
Well,
Right.
the problem with that is then you end up with neighborhoods that don't have any access to cannabis. You almost have to do it on a per area or per zone basis, because otherwise you end up with whole sections of a city that don't end up with access. Like when I used to live in Longmont in Colorado, they banned cannabis production, so I had to go all the way to Boulder to get cannabis. I had to drive 20 to 30 minutes just to buy weed. Like, that's bullshit. Again, this is why you need to prevent townships and counties from being able to do that, because there's no logical reason why I shouldn't be able to buy something that's less dangerous than alcohol. That's just a bullshit argument.
Yeah, and then you have what's going on in my state, in Texas. So the CBD law that has been passed in 2015 goes into effect this year. Um, there was definitely some more viable legislation on the table this year. I won't go into that right now unless Steve wants me to. But
You can if you want.
the, okay, well, so what was going on in Texas is they had a I think it was House Bill. Shit, I can't remember what the name of it was, but they had amended the current law, which is a CBD only law, and it was going to have plenty of qualifying conditions, anywhere from severe pain to spinal injury to PTSD to cancer to AIDS to all kinds of stuff, you know. So it was a pretty good law, and this it was going to allow for home grow, and what ended up happening is the bill garnered the support of over half of Texas representatives. So that basically tells you if the bill would have made it to the floor, then it would have got voted into law, you know. But what ended up happening is the whole bill garnered the support of everybody. You know, it passed the public health committee, and then the public health committee held on to it till it was the last day to schedule it for a vote in the calendars committee. So needless to say, it didn't get scheduled for a vote. So we now have to wait for 2019. But what they were trying to do was they actually did a bait and switch. And after the bill already had all the support, they pulled out the right to grow your own, which completely infuriated me. So in the end, I was actually happy that the law didn't go through, because it would have directed all of the power of the cannabis in Texas. Every single dollar made off of cannabis sold in Texas or otherwise would have had to flow through the hands of the state. And even at that, just like Steve mentioned, how the licensing, the way they pick the licensing, these are just, you know, who knows what the fuck criteria they go by. But all three of the companies that they awarded license to to sell cannabis in Texas are all in Austin, and one of them's out of Atlanta. I mean, I would have thought, especially being Texas, that they would have had some kind of provisions on there where they would have made it to where at least the licensees that they choose would be from in state, you know. I mean, it kind of makes sense to me. I mean, I don't know. But so now what's going on, by the end of 2017, they are going to push this CBD law into effect. And from what I've heard and read on news articles, that they could actually possibly have the first cannabis available by the end of the year. And since these other laws didn't get passed through, then we're dealing with CBD only cannabis, and all three of the cannabis dispensaries are going to be in Austin, Texas. I mean, to serve the entire fucking state of Texas, how much sense does that make?
Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. There's how many thousands of square feet? It's the second largest state in the union after Alaska.
And that's
Yeah,
debatable.
it's pretty crazy.
What's debatable?
Well, anybody that lives in Texas will declare that that's bullshit. Sorry.
What? That's the second largest? Sorry, it's not bigger than Alaska.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. No,
Alaska is
no,
almost double the
he
size.
means he I get the
48 for
joke.
sure.
I get the joke, Roger, because people from Texas are
Not
I
going
don't
to admit
know,
it.
prideful for no reason. I'll just put it like that. They're super prideful for no reason. Everybody's proud to live in the state of Texas, and nobody could give you a valid reason why. And
I love
I mean, just from living here, you know, from the legislators and the people that are in charge of the laws that go into effect here in Texas, I can't see any reason why people are so proud to live in this fucking state. Because I don't know,
That's what I was surprised
people
you even got
are
as far.
crazy.
Yeah, I'm surprised you guys have got as far as you have, because Texas is like, if you ask me which would be the last state, that'd be one of them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I mean, I would say Texas would be one of the last ones to do anything, but so they're doing CBD. That's what South Carolina's done
You know
too. They've
what?
gone to
You know what?
CBD.
So
Yeah, they're doing
who's the
CBD
last
for
state you think it
intractable
would?
epilepsy.
Who's the last state you think it would be? It's Mississippi, right? Even
Definitely,
Mississippi
I would
has
say.
a CBD law. Even Mississippi. So when someone tells you that cannabis is dangerous, bring up the fact that even Mississippi has your law for children. That's, there's no reason. If even Mississippi can understand that, I think we can reach a midway point with these people and reach some kind of middle ground and actually make progress with this. We don't need to be at war with each other. We can
Yeah,
make.
absolutely.
If even Mississippi can do that, there's no reason that we can't all come together and to some kind of reasonable agreement.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
I'm ready.
Chicken Hole, no. So Chicken Hole asked, is it not legal in all 50 states? No, it is not legal in all 50 states. CBD is
Not
not.
the CBD oil.
CBD officially is Schedule 1 and recognized as a non-medical beneficial component or substance or something. They just did that recently. In fact, I went on one hell of
the
a rant.
DEA.
I went on about a 20-minute rant when that happened. If you go back and look at the episode, I don't remember what episode it was, but I went on just an absolute crazy rant about, because there was no reason for that. The only reason to target CBD people or target CBD specifically is to hurt children. If you hate children that have seizures and you want them to suffer, if you hate cancer patients and you want them to suffer, if you hate AIDS patients and you want them to suffer, you hate people with muscle spasms and you want them to suffer, or you hate people in pain. So if you hate those people, then you're going to go ahead and make cannabis Schedule 1. That's the only reason. There's no other reason in the entire universe to make any of that illegal or to make it Schedule 1 unless you're just an asshole. Like, there's absolutely no, unless you're just a heartless, soulless person with no empathy whatsoever, there's no excuse for that.
And by the law,
there's no explanation. THC, you can make a couple of arguments that people can get intoxicated from. CBD, I could do 12 dabs, 1 gram each of CBD and not get high. Of pure 100% CBD. So you cannot tell me that it's intoxication or anything to do with an actual worried about people being high. It's bullshit. Doesn't happen.
It's all about that money.
It's about money and greed.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, or another thing is how it helps. It's helping people. It's helping drug addicts, people from the war that came, veterans and drug addicts alike, that are trying to wean off of methadone and the hard pharmaceutical options that are out there by using CBD oil. And some of our listeners tonight are those very people.
Yep. In fact, that's one of the articles we have this week was, hold on, let me find it here in a second. The Veterans Affairs Office spoke out about how it helps reduce, here. Hold on.
American Legion.
Veterans Affairs, the American Legion came out in favor of it last week. Well, not last week, the week before, but the Veterans Affairs Secretary, David Shulkin, spoke out in favor of medical marijuana for veterans on a federal level. This guy's actually involved in the federal government. This is by the Cannabis.co. We'll cover this article. It wasn't the next article we were going to cover, but it was coming up soon. And the state of Virginia addressed the White House Wednesday. Veterans Affairs Secretary David Shulkin said federal law prevents the department from implementing any potential benefits of medical marijuana for veterans, and that needs to change. So yeah, so it's pretty great to see some of the federal government employees, especially within Veterans Affairs, coming out, in support of cannabis. I think we all know a veteran at this point that has been dramatically helped by cannabis for both PTSD as well as getting off of some of the pain medications. A lot of these veterans have pretty traumatic injuries and need long-term pain medication, and cannabis is not addictive. If you happen to not do a dab, you might be in pain, but you're not going to be shaking. You're not going to go through withdrawal. You're not going to go through any of the things that happen with any of these opioids that they got these guys hopped up on. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be helping these guys, especially after they go and they fight. It's kind of it's ridiculous. So
We've met a couple on this show since I've been helping out,
Yep.
hanging out.
Yep.
Hanging out. We're hanging out, aren't we? We're hanging out.
Yep.
A couple real cool guys. Yep.
Actually, it turns out that was the next article we were going to cover. That's kind of funny.
Well, rolling on is never a bad thing either, because that last article, you can just roll the page back a little bit, and we can talk about that one too. But that was right. You were in order, huh? Accidentally.
Yeah, accidentally.
All right. So, well, that's excellent. Well, I need to go ahead a little bit and see what's going on, see if I can catch up and help you out here.
We're on row 9, if you're looking at the sheet.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I was waiting, but yeah, we're real professional here.
No, that's fine. I'll be honest with you. I'm slightly underprepared for this week. I'll try to be a little bit more prepared for you guys next week. I just it's been a little bit hectic lately. I'm trying to get ready to move here again to go back up north here on a different project. Well, multiple projects up here going north, so that'll be a lot of fun. I'll have a lot of footage for you guys here very shortly. So the next article we have comes from the Cannabis.co. Mexican man forced to 10 marijuana grow in national forest sentenced. The defendant was arrested October after forest rangers spotted uniform rows of crops in a wild area of the forest using Google Earth images.
Yeah.
Fucking idiots. A Mexican man who paid his debt to smugglers by guarding a clandestine marijuana farm hidden in the San Isabel National Forest has been sentenced to 1 year in federal prison by U.S. Court Judge Brooke Jackson. Gave Cleo Estrada Calabrara at age 20 credit for 8 months served. He already served in jail awaiting his sentence. Therefore, only has 4 months left to serve before he's being deported. So, I guess I don't know, something that's not widely publicized, but a lot of times they'll bring people over in exchange for marijuana grow time. I know it's not the first time in California, so.
Huh. To work in the fields, huh? Do they work off their debt?
Yeah, it was not often news, and I thought it was interesting and something different,
Yeah. Wow.
Messed up for sure. Interesting in a bad way, but sure.
Well, the worst part about it is when you get caught, you're subject to that kind of situation. That's what happens, But that's sad when you're trying just to make a living and you get, because you're growing some weed, you got to go to prison or get deported well, I guess getting deported, that's a whole nother thing. We're not going to go into that, I hope. So,
yeah.
It's not a political show. It's a cannabis news show.
Right.
That's deportation as much as possible.
Yeah, as they say, the most dangerous thing about weed is getting caught with it.
That's right. That's right. Homeboy got caught.
Absolutely. The next article is from .co. This is massive study launched to compare the effectiveness of CBD to prescription drugs using the largest patient sample size in history of cannabis research. They're hoping to glean insight from over 150,000 patients and regarding CBD patient demographics in relation to seizures, specifically demographics, applications, psychographics, and perceived effect.
Perceived efficacy.
Efficacy. Sorry.
You're starting to
That'd
break
be really
up there,
cool.
Steve. I hate to throw it at you, but you're starting to your microphone's going kind of buggy here. It's never happened before. I hate to bring that up in the middle of the show, but you're kind of blowing out every other word almost. It's not
Yeah,
Am
you
I?
broke
Is
up
it?
for about the first
like
half of reading that
like
article.
it sounds like
Hold on.
kind of that. Like so, it sounds like where it's plugged in, maybe something intermittent with your wire or your plug-in, maybe.
Can you guys hear me a little better now?
That sounds like you normally now.
No, I'm good. Okay. Yeah, once in a blue moon we have a problem with the router. I can fix it on the fly.
Sorry to interrupt you without just texting it, but nobody was understanding what you were saying, so I had to catch.
No, it's fine. So we'll reread that. Massive study, a medical marijuana company, Hello MD, using the largest patient sample size to date. Researchers are hoping to glean insight from over 150,000 registered patients on CBD demographics, applications, psychographics, and perceived efficacy, mostly in relation to seizures. So that'll be pretty cool as far as getting some more medical studies done on cannabis.
So is that they're going to conduct a study, or they're collecting data from people?
They're currently conducting the study.
Yeah, because they were not going to
Okay.
legalize anything
Nice.
or make
That'll
a
be
big
good.
broad scale thing until they do now. Even though they've already done studies for 60 to 70 years, they've got to do more studies now that it's out in the open. It's
Yeah,
like
and I mean,
total bullshit. It's total bullshit.
the more studies, the better, though, because
Yes.
whenever these politicians that claim that they're ignorant to all of the data that's actually already out there, they say we need more data, we need more science. That's often the argument that especially conservative politicians will make. So I mean, the more studies, the better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like that idea too, that concept too. That is an excellent point.
Alrighty.
I had something else to say, but I wanted to listen to him. So the brain grew, and I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry.
Man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to cut you off, man.
No, you didn't. You didn't. I was going to say something in response to you, but then I listened to it. What what you said. But go on. Let's just roll on.
This next article comes to us courtesy of leafly.com. Again, all these articles are posted. I'm going to post all the links in the description here in a nice, neat format, so you guys will have them. So that if you're interested in reading the articles in depth, full credit will be given to all those who wrote them originally. Fearing hash oil explosions, California County, Sacramento County to be exact, restricts butane sales. Beginning next month, residents of Sacramento County will be able to possess only 600 millimeters of butane chemical solvent, or 2 standard can sizes. Retailers in the county will face similar restrictions, and butane sales will be capped at 600 milliliters per transaction. Sales will also be required to record the date, quantity, and customer ID of everyone buying butane in the county of Sacramento. No customers may purchase more than 600 millimeters of butane per month.
Milliliters per month.
Per month?
Holy
That's
shit.
bullshit. What are you going to do if you dab all the time? Like, that's not even reasonable. Like, I could go through 2 cans of butane just smoking my normal dabs. That's some bullshit. And not only that, like, are Coleman, like, is Coleman cans going to be go? Because I use a Coleman can, it's cheaper. Or you know what if I go to Home Depot and just buy a pipe sweater? Is that still, like, this is bullshit.
Maybe the e-nail industry is behind it.
There's easy ways. It's a stupid rule.
Oh yeah, you're going to have a contractor's license to buy more.
You know what? It's that evil e-nail cabal.
I'm telling you. The e-nail company is paying off these politicians to pass laws like that.
Conglomerate.
Email.
Conglomerate.
Damn you, Dr. Dabber.
The Koch brothers and Dick Cheney. The Koch brothers and Dick Cheney and. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm starting to shape up my
man.
thoughts about how we'll prepare better for the show next week.
I mean, that's how shit like this happens.
Yeah,
though,
again,
you know,
I
to be
apologize,
realistic.
guys, for the growing pains.
No, it's fun.
I'm not.
It's fun. It's typical.
Yeah,
It's-
I'm not
it's-
fully
it's
prepared
fun.
for the show at the moment, and
Hey,
I
the
ended
thing
up with
is,
this episode this week.
Someone's
ended up
gonna have to
being-
take Steve's nail.
Yeah, someone needs to take the blowtorch away before the show, basically. I'm just kidding. So, Wisconsin plans to cut off Medicare and food stamps to those who refuse drug tests. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, everyone's favorite governor, wants to make Wisconsin the first state to require childless adults paying Medicare to undergo drug screening, a move that could serve as a national model. Yeah, anyone that knows who Scott Walker is knows he's a cheating piece of shit who used Karl Rove and a bunch of other people to steal the election multiple times. Anyways, there's lots of evidence to go into that, but without getting super political, this is one of the most bullshit things. They tried this in Florida. Governor Scott tried this. Less than 0.2% of those they drug tested actually came up positive for drug tests, because most people would just use fake urine anyway. So there's no reason to do all this. You're pissing away hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxpayer funds.
You're breaking up, Steve.
sounds like you're going through a keyboard synthesizer.
Steve, you're breaking up hardcore.
R2D2. It does sound like Star Wars. It sounds like Star Wars.
Oh shit!
Where did I hear that before? But now it got
Can you hear
music.
me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're coming through clear right now.
Okay. Where did I leave off?
I don't know. You went on for
Did you
a
hear my bit
while.
about Florida?
Yeah, you were talking about Florida.
Okay, so they tried this in Florida. Less than 2% of the people, 0.2% of the people that tested positive for drug use. So they ended up pissing away. It was like multiple millions of dollars for 0.2% or less of the population to end up coming positive. So they spent almost 18 times as much for testing those people as they did in benefits for the people that would have benefited that were drug users. So this is just
Yeah, I think I may have heard about that one. And I thought Donald Trump was already trying to push some legislation through like that. If not, then that's probably the story I heard about, because I had heard about it, the drug testing for the welfare benefits like food stamps or whatever, and they cut a very, very minuscule population with that.
Yeah, that was Governor Scott in Florida.
Right.
Governor Scott.
Looks like you didn't have too many articles.
So yeah, that was that one.
I don't have nothing else.
Huh?
Wow, my other stuff went away. I must have to refresh this or something.
Because 8 articles on your.
Yeah, I thought you had a whole bunch. Well, go on. I'm just going to sit here and
Yeah, 48.
I'm going to play like I just got my little phone and can't actually pay attention either.
So a new randomized.
I'm sorry. All right.
Double-blind placebo-controlled study finds cannabis CBD helps kids with rare forms of epilepsy. In a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled study, a gold standard design component with a rare form of devastating epilepsy. The results published in the New England Journal of Medicine provide the first solid evidence of marijuana that can be used to treat epilepsy, something that some patient groups and advocates have argued for years. So that'll be really good. Hopefully we can get more of these. The total patient size was 120 patients in the U.S. ages of teen. All the kids had a rare form of epilepsy called Dravet syndrome and suffered from drug-resistant seizures. Yeah, Dravet syndrome.
Yeah, it's Dravet.
Syndrome. Lifelong intractable condition generally caused by a mutation in the S1A gene. This is from arstechnica.com.
Yeah, that's
and this gene is. Go ahead.
That's actually the one that was responsible for the law that got pushed into effect in Texas. And I mean, to be completely honest, the only reason that we probably even got that first stepping stone is because one of the girls, her name is Alexis Bortel. She is one of the epileptic patients that she had to flee Texas. And one of the stories on one of the CNN documentaries about it was about her. And just because of bringing that coverage to Texas is, like I said, that's probably one of the only reasons in the first place that we really got that first stepping stone of a CBD law. And because of that, you know, our 2019 is looking bright. And I myself am thinking about going to Texas and telling them that, hey, y'all need to keep this grow your own in the bill, because that shit y'all pulled last time was completely visible to the people. You know, like y'all try to pull the grow your own just straight out from under their toes, you know, and that was complete bullshit.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I'm definitely caught up now. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and now that I see the next story, can I segue to the next story? Anybody got
Sure.
Well, the next story has to do with Israel's cannabis decriminalization. And you were asking me what was the last state, the last state that would decriminalize cannabis? Israel. That was the one. Israel. Yeah.
That's kind of funny because, first off, it's funny that you're Israel as a state of the U.S., which is a whole separate topic. But
I'm sorry.
getting into that whole clusterfuck. Israel actually has a pretty long running cannabis thing. Israel likes to think themselves as the farthest along in the medical cannabis field. Having dealt with a bunch of their sales reps in Jamaica, they're not. We have stuff that's far ahead of them in the United States now. We much farther ahead.
Are they doing the same thing that? Are they doing the same thing our government's doing, where it's going to they're going to dumb it down or make it less potent? Or are they caught up in the same issues that our government is?
No, I mean their government has their own set of issues, but they don't. I don't know. That's a much longer conversation to get into. But
sorry, yeah, I thought that was pertinent.
When I was in Jamaica, there was a guy that was there, and he was like, "Oh, I have this cannabis, and it's like 12% CBD. It's the highest in the world, and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Really? Here's like 3 different strains that have tested out 14% or higher from my house." Like the guy just wasn't aware that the United States was that far along. So it was just kind of comical to see like how maybe in the rest of the world that might fly.
Like they probably started it and then just stopped in their tracks. They're like, "Oh, we've got the highest thing in the world," and then they thought that was gonna last or something. With how active breeders are in the United States alone.
Yeah, well, the United States, like having been everywhere else, the United States is some of the most, if not the most meticulous growers that I've visited over the 5 different countries that I've visited grows so far. So
That's interesting. So you consider 14% on your end, from what you've experienced, you consider 14% the high end of CBD potency?
fuck no, there's
Okay. Then I was.
there's CBD
missed-
strains that are in the there's CBD strains now that are well into the 30 percentiles.
Well, that's what Robert's strain. I don't want to go into that because this isn't about the Thursday show either. But I was going to say, wait a minute, we're close to 30 and with one of our strains. So, okay.
Yeah. But it's kind of funny to hear someone walk in from another country and think they're hot shit with 12. Is my point.
Oh yeah, 12.
Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, dude,
Like,
no,
yo,
like
y'all are growing hemp over there, bro.
yeah, like that's way behind the curve, dude. Like in Colorado, and I've there's a thing called the 40% club, which is above 20% THC and CBD in one strain, and like we've done that one time through an official testing lab, but there's less than 20 people that have done that with a legit testing lab, testing it not themselves. So, you know, it's just depending on what strains they're using and methods and, you know, blah, 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 blah. But to hear someone wave their dick around over 12% is laughable. I don't know. Sorry, that was maybe a little vulgar form of expression, but someone boasting, I guess, was a better way to put it. I don't know. I just thought it was funny when I was down there.
So what about Israel?
The same guy tried to fight actually one of the head doctors in Jamaica for cannabis and got himself thrown off the island.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's a long story.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So what's up with Israel's decriminalization policy?
Israel decriminalized cannabis a while ago. They have medical and they're considering recreational soon, if memory serves me correctly. So.
And the links will be posted so you can read this for yourself in a little while.
So I'm confused. What was the article about?
The article is Israel's cannabis decriminalization policy comes into effect. Sorry.
Maybe I was wrong.
Okay.
I stand corrected. Israel.
Steve had me confused. This shit.
No. It was the medical. Sorry, I'm a little too high. It was the medical that I was in my brain. I was thinking of. Israel's new decriminalization that came into effect in March, that was passed in March, came into effect this past Sunday. And it's a new legal approach to marijuana use in the Jewish state. So, that you just get a fine. First time offense will just get a $280 fine if it's 15 grams or less. The second fine will be $560. The third fine will be investigated for offenders will be investigated for drug offenses and have the violation added to their criminal history. The fourth time offenders will be indicted, and refusal to pay fines could result in prison time of up to 1 year. So, I mean, that's a lot better than how it used to be, but still, it's not there yet.
No.
Well, there, hopefully there's in Texas there's actually I think it was a Senate bill something or other. I can't remember what the number was, but they were going to pass a decriminalization bill here in Texas. I'm sorry, I had to turn off my pump. I think that was loud. Yeah, they were going to pass a decriminalization bill here in Texas where I think the amount was less than 2 ounces, where they could only impose a fine of up to $250 with no possibility of jail time. So that would have been pretty cool if that would have went through, but that pretty much met the same fate of the other one.
Yep. Yes, that was U.S. currency. Chicken Hole asked if that was in euros currency.
Oh.
Next article is women could use medical marijuana soon for painful periods in New York State. They're passing a new law that would amend the current medical marijuana bill and allow women with dysmenorrhea, I guess it's called, which affects up to 20% of women, to an extent that daily activities are interrupted because of their periods. This would allow them it was voted on the Assembly Health Committee, passed on a vote of 21-2. And it's going to allow women, to basically tell their doctor that they have very painful cramps. And they're going to allow tampons and lubricants infused with cannabis, as well as other medications as well. Normal cannabis products. Vaporizers will also be allowed. Smoking and eating will not be permitted for medical purposes under this bill. Vaporizing will be, as well as the tampons and the lubricants. Kind of a weird bill, but whatever.
Yeah, I was fixing to say that's crazy because, I mean, anyone who knows anything about smoking versus vaporizing knows that you get much more cannabinoids through whenever you vaporize versus whenever you smoke.
Yeah.
So potentially you could be higher if you vaporize than smoke. So that's pretty crazy.
Well,
But
a lot of
smoking is
states,
not good for
smoking
lungs.
is healthier for you. Yeah, vaporizing is healthier for
True.
you. Sorry.
Right. Smoke is smoke.
Right.
That's why. Thank you, Steve. We got to hit that
Yeah.
one.
I thought that was a pretty bizarre one, but it was definitely one that I wanted to make sure I got covered
think
because there's a lot of women that listen to the show. And
I think it's great because it classifies that and address that particular issue, so they're able to get the medical license or the register for medical marijuana because of that, instead of it being a gray area. So I think it's great.
Right. And
There's specific.
I know Whoopi Goldberg has. I'm sorry. I know Whoopi Goldberg has actually already created some sort of feminine product. I don't. I have obviously never gone to see what it is for myself, but I'm sure she'd be able to market her product. I'm pretty sure it's probably something like that, some kind of medicated tampon or something like that. So, which is that's good for
Maybe so.
for
Might make the world a happier place. The world will
yeah, I
be.
would imagine so.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm not going to say the V word on the news show. So. Right.
the next article, I'm having a little bit of a problem getting it to load again, but the Herald Sun in Victoria, Australia. Victoria is going to be the first state, it looks like, to help children with seizures. I forget how many children it was that are going to be the first issued. Sorry, I can't get the article to reopen for some reason. There's some stupid ad thing. Anyways, they're gonna open that up. I have a follow-up article later on about this. We'll skip to the next one. That was from the heraldsun.com.au. The next one comes from weedreader.com. And this is Spliff Lessons Cannabis Memory Loss. They just finished a long-term study in regards to people with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and other elderly patients that smoked both tobacco, cannabis, and a control. And they found the people that had the best memory retention were those that only smoked cannabis. And smoked cannabis once every 24 hours seemed to be the best. People with the best memory. They also showed improved heart rate and blood pressure compared to control or tobacco users.
Excellent.
Yeah.
There's been nothing come out recently what they're doing with Alzheimer's patients and all too.
Yep. They also had a lower mortality rate as well, and they don't really have a reason for that. So.
Yeah, that's really good. That's long overdue, especially with the U.S. having a patent in cannabis being a neuroprotectant.
Yep. The other thing I wanted to mention here, I meant to mention at the beginning, big shout out to C-Funk. C-Funk is one of the local artists here near where I live. And he did some new artwork for the title screens for both this podcast and the normal podcast. So we have some really cool artworked, hand-drawn artwork title screens for both of those now. So definitely check those out. And if you're interested in that, definitely email freeearth.space@gmail.com if you're interested in getting any kind of intricate artwork done or need logo work done or anything else. Give him a quick plug since he was kind enough to help us out. Alrighty.
Yeah, I was actually looking at that Growing with Fishes cover screen, and that's really beautiful. It really looks nice.
Yeah, if you've seen my Facebook picture, the lion on the ceiling behind me was done by him as well.
Awesome.
Sure brightened up the show, I got to tell you. Sure did.
Yeah, it gives us some kind of uniqueness, you know. We're working on
absolutely.
proper song intros for both this podcast and the other podcast. So we have the one that we're doing for the other podcast will be a chopped up version of Parliament Funkadelic. Something Willie. I forget the name of the exact song.
Wiggles, Mr. Wiggles.
Mr. Wiggles, yes. It's a version. Sorry. Again, a little stoned.
It's the musician in me. You told me the name of the song. I remembered it. That was the best part.
Yeah, we're working on a remixed version of Mr. Wiggles for the from Parliament Funkadelic for the other version of the songs.
Okay.
You guys will like that. Hopefully we'll have it ready for this Thursday if all goes well. Well, the Vermont governor plans to veto bill that would legalize marijuana, which is
I thought he did that. Steve.
Yeah, he announced Wednesday he plans to veto the bill.
Oh, okay. He
announced that, yeah, so since last Monday is what these topics are over. So they're trying to work on. So hopefully they'll get that worked out. I think I touched on that earlier, actually. I don't know why I double posted that. I apologize. Here we go. This is the other article I also want to bring. Australia's first domestic crop is coming to harvest. The first company in Australia to receive cannabis cultivation license has been given the official go-ahead. I'm sorry. The last article was by we already covered. Was by NBCnews.com. I apologize. This article is by marijuana.com. Okay.
Wow.
The first company in Australia to receive cannabis cultivation license has been given the official go-ahead to start growing cannabis, the first major domestic crop of medicine. Canada Australia has been granted permission by the Office of Drug Control in February to grow medical marijuana at an undisclosed location in Melbourne. The company has been on high for a few months since they issued the official papers as the list ASX earlier this month. They raised $13.5 million in capital so far. They're also involved. Much of the investment came from Aurora Cannabis. If you've been following, if you guys are familiar with Canada, they're one of the biggest cannabis. They're the biggest cannabis grower in all of Canada. So, the first buds are expected to be received by Australian patients in August, assuming everything else goes smoothly.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's good to see the first. There's 50 children already signed up with seizure-related disorders, and there's more coming in the meantime.
After what they've got.
So were those CBD varieties or just regular full plant varieties that they're going to be growing?
It doesn't specify at all, actually.
It's great to hear, though, because they really clamped down on cannabis in Australia. So to see any movement in the positive direction is a big deal for a lot of my friends over there. I've had friends over in Australia for years that I met, and even talked to some of them where we Skyped and all. You know, I wish we could get a couple of them on the show, but it's like they're 13 hours ahead of us, and like you said before, well, we just have to arrange it. Well, so I'm working on it. Yeah, it's great news for my friends in Australia. That's great news for everybody out there in Australia.
Yeah,
Doing
definitely.
something. They're doing
So the
something.
next, for those of you who missed it, hightimes.com sold 60% of their shares a couple of days ago for $70 million. I'm sorry. 60% of the shares of the company for $42 million. The company is valued at $70 million. My bad.
That's
They're-
the, I would figure it was higher than that.
Especially after a recent, they've not been doing as good very lately. Especially after the couple of bombed out cannabis cups, Las Vegas and Denver being two of them. And to be honest with you, to go on a mini personal rant, their booth prices are fucking bullshit. They've doubled the prices for cannabis cup booths like every year for the last 4 or 5 years, and there's no reason for that other than greed. Like, come on, dude, you're full of shit.
Absolutely. Bringing the
It's like
exact elements into
it's
the
like
industry
5
that
or
we would
6
like to keep out.
Yeah, they want $5 or $6 grand now for a 10 by 10 booth. Go fuck yourself.
Well, and the average guy that might have the best weed on the planet can't get a booth. You know?
Well, and then I forget how much it is. What is it, $1,500 to enter a strain? I think last time I looked. I forget what the price was. I haven't tried to enter a strain in a while.
Well, it's probably worth it if you win. But that's
well,
kinda high.
here's the other bit. Unless you're a sponsor of it, there's no chance in hell that you're going to be a winner anyway. It's all rigged. Anyone that's actually competed in it knows it. There's no actual competition. That's why I like going to the DGC Cup. That's why I went to the DGC Cup in April. It's an actual competition, not a circle jerk.
Oh, unlike the Amsterdam cannabis.
Yeah,
Or any state.
I was just fixing to bring that up. I mean, they're just opening up room for all of these cannabis cups, such as the DGC Cup, that will run a tighter ship, and probably I would imagine charge as much for booths or however that works,
Yep.
Well, the thing is, if
So
you
I
do it
mean,
right,
there's a bright side to it.
many more people would come.
Mm-hmm.
Many more people would come. The mass would be bigger and bigger and bigger if they kept it affordable and allowed people that would just I know a lot of people they've got this dream of breeding, and we've talked about it, and that's a big deal for some people, but they still don't have thousands of dollars to go enter into these. I guess you have to enter. It's like any tournament because there's a big prize at the end, right? But again,
well, so the company that bought it is called Arriva Capital, and Arriva Capital is owned by Damian Marley, the youngest son of Bob Marley. So well, he's got some good ass music. I saw him play when I was in Jamaica. It was good. But it was kind of interesting to see him buy the company. Basically.
So what do you think about the future of High Times with the majority share owner being Damian Marley?
good.
I feel like I can't. I work in Jamaica. I can't give you a. Yeah, I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one.
Oh, yeah, that might be a good idea because you might say something that some people like and other people don't like, and you want everybody to like you when you get to Jamaica.
Exactly.
Well, how about you take that question, Roger?
The Marleys are a very controversial topic in Jamaica, and I work there too much. I'm gonna abstain from that one.
Well, I would say, all right, so I'll take what I think. The High Times, being that it's High Times, and there's only a small percentage of the world's population that'll ever go to Jamaica. So, and I would love to go, and so I hope I don't piss anybody off down there. But I'll keep it kind of gray. Actually, I just look at it as a good thing because at least the person that owns the controlling interest has an interest in cannabis. So that's my opinion on it, and I don't think anybody can get too mad about that and go, the guy smokes pot, he bought High Times. The only thing I can think for High Times that'll happen now is that High Times will kick ass again, because so they'll take pride. I bet there's pride. The one thing about Jamaica, we know that Jamaicans have pride, big on pride. The Jamaica bobsled team, man. You know, I'm telling you, I
It's
fucking
an
love it.
actual thing, though.
It is. It was a real thing. It was a real thing.
Was it?
Yes, it was actual track stars from Jamaica that had an accident that missed the. It's a real story. It is an actual real story. They missed the Olympics because they tripped, and they were the best runners. So this white guy that had cheated in the Olympics for the U.S. was in Jamaica, and he was a drunk, has-been nobody, and they talked him into teaching them how to do it, and it's a true story. Yeah, that's true. All right, so there's your little sideways. We went down a little rabbit hole for the Jamaican.
I'll tell you what, they worship Usain Bolt like he's a saint there.
They actually set one of the fastest times in the Olympics, and then they did wreck when they had a chance to win the gold or at least medal. And they did go back to the Olympics a second time. So Jamaica had a bobsled team on 2 consecutive Olympics. They had a team. And they're known for their runners, as we all know. They can run very fast.
Nice.
So.
I miss Jamaica.
I think it was great.
I'm working. Well, I'll tell you what. I think overall, I guess I will give a little bit of a comment. I think overall it'll be positive. They're very good at managing money, and they're pretty big, financially and corporate. You know, I guess company-wise in Jamaica. So you know, I can imagine much worse or much greedier people running it for sure. You know, I don't really consider them to be very greedy.
Yeah, I would say that's a good point.
Do they already have the High Times Cannabis Cup in Jamaica?
Yeah, well, that's in the grill. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the writing on the wall with that one. You know, no, that sounds excellent. It had $42 million to buy the magazine too. So, you know.
Well, I know the guy that's their sound guy. So.
All right, so moving on.
So that's why I was like,
hey, behave yourself. Don't get scared. New Zealand. What about New Zealand? Doctors allowed to prescribe CBD in New Zealand now.
Oh yeah, sorry, I lost my track of thought, or not train of thought. Lost where I was here on the articles. So yeah, the next article we have, no, it's fine. New Zealand doctors are allowed to prescribe CBD. Although New Zealand, this is from marijuana.com again. Although New Zealand resides fairly close to Australia, which has become one of the world's leaders in cannabis research, the Kiwis have long been a holdout for medical marijuana. However, trepidation on behalf of the New Zealand government has diminished this week. Doctors in the nation are able to prescribe CBD as a treatment for conditions such as epilepsy and multiple sclerosis. So that's a big win for them. I know cannabis is generally reasonably tolerated in New Zealand. I have a bunch of friends that have been there and didn't really have a hard time finding it. But
yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's awesome that all these different countries and whatnot, different states around our own country are at least finding the sense to legalize cannabis medicinally for all these conditions that it can really, really benefit.
Mm-hmm. So, comes marijuana.com again. This is Nevada governor signs bill allowing tribal negotiations with hemp cultivations. On Friday, Governor Sandoval signed Senate Bill 375 and 396, allowing Nevada Native American tribal governments to directly negotiate with the state over use and sale of medical cannabis on tribal lands, and expanding the state's hemp cultivation program. So, nothing in relation to recreational, but lots of medical, or just pertaining to medical. I'm sorry. 27 federal recognized tribes. This applies to 27 federally recognized tribes and about 40,000 Native Americans in the state of Nevada. So.
Well, you know what's happened in every place they've had medical marijuana. They've ended up having recreational marijuana. So everything, but we always wanted medical marijuana, didn't we? We always thought that should be allowed regardless, period, end of story, even though we all feel like all marijuana should be allowed. The big thing is that it's great.
Yeah, and I mean,
there's somewhere that gets something done with medical marijuana attached to it means that the regular people will be able to use it down the road to relax instead of drinking beer and going out and running over somebody's car full of kids. You know, so good for you. 'Cause if you're
And
smoking
sadly,
pot,
but
you're
whenever
gonna
you
be
think about that though, that really ties back into the money too, you know. And once they get a taste of that money that they're getting from the medical cannabis, then they're like, hey, we're just getting this little bit from serving just a smaller group of the population. Imagine how much we can make if we go full recreational, you know. So
they'll be more ready to kick alcohol to the curb too.
oh yeah,
Because they're going to make way more billions of dollars with cannabis because
yeah.
a lot of people
It also depends.
drinking is on
It
a
also depends on who's in the politicians' pockets, because a
yeah.
lot of people have a lot of sway on what these politicians do based on their campaign donations and whatnot and what have you.
Well, that goes back to the corporate greed and the Big Brother thing. So we can do a Slam Big Brother show too, Steve.
Let's do a conspiracy show.
Yay!
All of us in foil hats.
Oh no! Now
Holy
I'm
shit.
backed up on that one.
Man, I'm gonna have to be on psychedelics for that one.
Actually, it's a good segue to the next topic. It's from the cannabis.co. Riverside has finally eradicated their very last medical marijuana dispensary. This is an example of out of control cannabis laws. Since 2007, Riverside has basically waged a war on dispensaries. They've shut down over 40 dispensaries since 2007. There's no fucking reason for that. People voted in this state of California to have legal cannabis. So go fuck yourself. You don't have to like it. No one's asking you to like it. Just don't smoke weed. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to like alcohol.
Yeah,
you don't have to like
people are
cheese.
crazy.
You don't have to like carrots. You don't have to like broccoli. Don't buy it. Doesn't matter. No one's putting a gun to your head to smoke weed or eat broccoli or eat sushi or anything else. You know, this is ridiculous.
Oh, I've got broccoli steaming. Oh, that's going to be good.
I'm sorry. They've closed a total of 100. I misread it. It's closed a total of 118 dispensaries since January 1st of 2007. Huh?
Wow.
Well, the thing is, they put that into the law so they could do that in order to get it passed. For one thing, I think that's one of those kind of things where you get that thing like, well, and that's what's happened. And I know this firsthand because when I came up through cannabis.com, my mentor Xandor was a big activist in California, and they were constantly talking about every little town could vote like Colorado's the same way. 1 minute it's legal in the state, and then they have a town hall meeting and they decide to put it on an agenda and they close down all the dispensaries in town. You know, and that's after I don't know if it's true. Now maybe Steve, you can elaborate on this.
Well, here's the deal though. They passed that.
You know,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
About the cost to open a dispensary. They're closing out dispensaries after, like, in my opinion, or what, at least my research so far, and I haven't kept up to date with it, but it cost $1 million to basically get the permits. It's like trying to open a McDonald's in Colorado.
I'm working on a project right now to open, well, I can't give you any more details on, so I'm working on a project right now to open a commercial cannabis grow somewhere in the state of California. I'll leave it at that. And I think we're at $4.7 million between permits and land and buildings and employment costs and equipment and.
But I said it was $1 million just for the permits and all that, the license.
Oh yeah. It's more than
that. Then you got to build your infrastructure. So you kind of took it,
Holy shit!
It's $1 million to just start a dispensary in Colorado, just for permits and shit.
Wait, so like, wow, so like there's
it's pay to play.
I don't know how much property cost is and whatnot like that is, but Do they still have like small business dispensaries there in California?
So here's the deal. They've pigeonholed the zoning to where there's only a handful of properties in every township that are legally able to be a dispensary, and if they are, you're going to pay 4 times the price at least for the property.
And then the county or the county can vote
And that's just to start off with. Oh, no, not even that. Not even that. You want your crazier bullshit than that?
Well, that's
When I lived in Longmont, okay, they banned dispensaries inside city limits. Well, there's a pocket of land in the center of the town that has a county fairgrounds. Well, someone realized there's one building that's on the county fairgrounds land. And that's where the one dispensary is that's inside city limits. But there used to be a second one, and on the very outskirts of the city. And what they did was the fucking city annexed the land and made that part of it the city just so they could kick him out. And that's bullshit. It's like, if you assholes would just legalize it for the city, you could be making tax money and be making millions of dollars. They could directly pad their own fucking paychecks off these guys. And they don't even know. This is stupid.
Brain Grow can relate to that from living in Texas, because they do the same thing with liquor. You can't have it in the town. You got to drive out to the city limits, and that's where the liquor stores were.
Yeah. Sadly, that's one of the things that's subject to the stateship and county legislature. Like here where I'm at, we didn't have.
That's part of your state laws.
Yeah,
in a state that hasn't legalized yet, you have to crack down on that. You have to ban that shit. Fuck those people. There's no reason why their bullshit ass opinion should prevent you from getting high. Fuck them. I want to prevent them from drinking a glass of wine. My friends have died from alcohol. 3 of them from fucking DUIs or overdosing and other bullshit. I don't see anybody making a fuss about that shit. This is bullshit.
See, the thing is, that's normalized. That's normalized in society. See, cannabis isn't normalized yet.
I know, but I'm saying for the sake of argument, that's all.
I hear you.
Yeah, even with dabs, dude. Even with dabs, we have 99.7% concentrate. Still nobody ain't overdose.
A lot of people feel like, though.
I want to see that. I want to see someone do.
Oh, come on.
Dabs and then do 5 grams of pure alcohol the next day. Or an ounce. You know what? Let's do an ounce. Let's do an ounce versus an ounce, and we'll see who wakes up the next morning. Winner gets legalized. Let's do that. An ounce?
An ounce is a shot.
Kill you, for sure.
Oh, if you actually...
Everclear?
No. Everclear is just grain alcohol. You can do a shot of Everclear. An ounce of Everclear is a shot glass.
Oh, man, I've never done a full shot. Okay, so let's... You know what? Fuck it. Let's up it.
Very little bit of liquor, actually,
compared to... Let's do a half pound. Let's do a half pound. Ain't no way someone's surviving that much liquor. I know they'll survive the weed.
And here we are down the rabbit hole here on the Last Week in Cannabis tonight.
Well, Steve, technically, if you want to get technical, what's the weight of a gallon of water is like 3-point-something pounds, so half a pound.
No, a gallon of water is 7.2 pounds for fresh water and 8.4 for salt.
So I just say 8 to be on the heavy side.
What about alcohol? What about alcohol? You said a half a pound of alcohol. What does a gallon of alcohol weigh?
Pretty close, isn't it?
Alcohol would be pretty damn close, yeah.
Yeah, liquid is liquid, kind of. So.
Well, liquid isn't liquid.
Well,
I was just talking shit. I was just saying.
Density. It's density of the liquid would make it way more.
We could do a fluid ounce. We could do a fluid ounce of dabs versus a fluid ounce of rosin versus a fluid. 6 fluid ounces of rosin versus 6 fluid ounces of alcohol. I guarantee you the guy that does the rosin will wake up the next day a little while, but
You're gonna put somebody to sleep for days
I did that once. I put somebody to
on that much rosin.
with some edible cookies.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why it's so good for it's so good for
If you take too much, if you take like an ungodly amount of edibles, you'll actually kind of shake. You'll be like jittery almost. That's weird. Anyways, I've never had that happen, but I've witnessed other people have it happen. Some butter I made is a little stronger than they thought it was.
All
That'll
right.
happen.
So we were in Riverside, California, right?
We were on Riverside, yeah.
And now we're
Next
what?
one,
California Assembly.
California State Assembly passes marijuana sanction. The bill would prohibit the state and local police from helping federal law enforcement anti-marijuana law enforcement crackdowns that might be issued by Jeff Sessions. This passed in Sacramento a couple days ago. But basically, it means that the California state government or law enforcement will not cooperate with federal officials in the event. Yes, it passed. It did. It made it to the Senate? It passed both the Senate and the House. Yep. So, yeah. Okay. So actually, there's some added information my roommate's telling me. The police spent over how much was it? The state police officers union spent $4.5 million. Yeah. So the state police union spent $4.5 million campaigning against it. So.
Wow.
So you know
And it's still passed, you said?
Yep. So you know it's a good bill.
Awesome. So there's another one for the good news column.
Yeah,
Wow.
Americans for Safe Access spend a bunch of money trying to make sure that it passed. So.
Do you mean they spent how much taxpayer?
Oh, they lobbied in person for it. I'm sorry.
How much tax?
Right.
The state.
Yeah, people hearing that should be angry. Like, yo, they just spent this.
Yeah, if you want to know if it's going to actually make a difference, look at how many millions of dollars your local law enforcement spending to fight it.
Against it.
Yeah, it's total bullshit.
Well, that's kind of stupid.
And not only that, okay, so
forget have a bigger, better police force to battle.
Well, forget all the arguments that all of us would agree on now. It makes it safer for police officers. The police officers risk getting shot or attacked by a dog or anything else every time they go after one of these weed grows that they honestly have no fucking right to go into in the first place. You know what I mean? There's no reason to risk these officers going into raids that they don't know what they're going into. You know, this is every bit as much for officer safety as it is for the regular everyday people out there. And it's a waste of taxpayer money and everything else. Like we could all agree on a whole bunch of other topics that we would normally cover, but I'm just saying like at the very least, like why is the police union fighting this when it only benefits them?
The biggest thing though is on the tax side, if they leave it alone and let it happen, they all will get more body armor and bigger, better, assault vehicles and more radar and helicopters and stuff like that to battle real crime.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. That's the most important point, really.
Yeah, that $4.5 million. How much money would they get back to hire more police officers? I have no problem with police officers because I don't fuck with police officers, so they don't fuck with me. I understand that we're all in this industry and been advocates and activists in the industry that
cops.
That's
40. That's 45 cops. If you say entry level, it costs them $100 million a year between what they're being paid, their pension, insurance, taxes, and all the other bullshit, equipment and everything.
Instead of fighting that, they could be raking in money and building their force to really take the streets back, and protect people, do what they're meant to do instead of abusing marijuana smokers.
Yep.
In the truest old school sense of the word.
Yep.
Name it, call it what you want to call it. We all smoke pot. All right. Well,
That was brought
okay.
to the cannabis.co. The next article is also by the cannabis.co. Arkansas buffer zone to make medical marijuana licensing a tricky business. Growers must be at least 3,000 schools or daycares. Dispensary must be at least 1,500 feet away. This would leave very few places that you could actually build a dispensary or a commercial grow. So small towns and small cities, it'd be extremely hard for marijuana operators to get a legal license.
Well, they can put them right next to their whorehouses.
Surveys showed that
What state was that?
Arkansas.
94 congregations in Malvern, a town of 11,000, add daycares and schools, and the number of potential sites is limited even further.
You know, Arkansas is right next to Mississippi.
I know. We're making it in strides in the deep south now. Those of you that don't know, Arkansas has one of the most fucked up medical marijuana bills. It's super restrictive to begin with. And basically it's not really a legitimate bill, but it's slowly but surely making it there. But just to have that level of progress in the South is quite an accomplishment.
Unstoppable.
Well, they've got strong agriculture there, so it'll work out. It'll work it out.
Oh yeah, no, I have no doubt that those growers,
agriculturally strong areas are going to be the ones that are going to dominate the end. You know. Yep. Sorry, Steve.
Most skilled bullshit. They're restricting hemp and cannabis when these guys are some of the, have some of the stabilities or the, best skill to grow this. There's no reason why they should be fucking with these guys. They're making an honest day for, hard-earned pay for an honest day's work, and especially when they're producing medicine for people. Like, why are we restricting these guys?
As a produce grower, I know you can't hardly even you can't compete unless you got to specialize. You got to create your own niche, and then you can make a couple dollars a pound on growing produce. And that's, it considered the benchmark is $1 a pound growing produce, whether it be cannabis or peppers. But $1 a pound is where you break even, supposedly, told to me by an old, very informative gentleman that helped me along back in my beginning days. And I tell you, it's the same way with the cannabis. It's going to come out of the same thing. They're trying to make it where everybody's going to go big. You got to go big, big, big. And if you can't go big, 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 it's going to be harder and harder for the small guys. They're always trying to take that away.
Yep. So the DEA is now going after people growing CBD hemp. This is from the cannabis.co. The DEA stands firm on its drug code for marijuana extracts. Brief filed Friday in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. This ruling, depending on what happens with this, will have wide implications as to what happens with the hemp industry, especially in regards to extracts made from hemp. This will have wide-reaching implications. Basically, the DEA repeatedly misarticulated the intention of Congress in enacting the Farm Bill's Industrial Hemp Amendment, says attorney representing the hemp industry. We thought we'd see something new. We're a little surprised we didn't. Patrick Gordon, the attorney, represents. The lawsuit focuses on the DEA rule finalized on December that applies to a controlled substances code known as the marijuana extract, defined as products containing one or more cannabinoids, chemical compounds derived from cannabis sativa, which applies to hemp. For those of you who don't know, hemp is cannabis sativa, same as the shit you smoke. Claims that made by the industry that the rule amounts to rescheduling action in the Controlled Substances Act for cannabinoids. The DEA laid out various reasons as to why the legal challenges filed by Hoban Law Group on behalf of the trade group Hemp Industries Association and hemp businesses Centura Natural Foods, RMH Holdings Incorporation, is invalid. Basically, they're arguing that any cannabinoid extract, even if it's from below a 0.3% THC extract, is still illegal, which is, as we all know, complete fucking bullshit. Again, This is me going back to, this is no different than the DEA rescheduling CBD as Schedule 1. Well, who are they attacking with this kind of shit? Children with cancer.
People
Children
in
with
need.
CBD, children with seizure disorders, veterans with PTSD. These are the people that are being hurt by this kind of bullshit. This isn't hurting a drug
Patients.
dealer on the street. This isn't hurting people that are growing 50 pounds in their backyard and flipping it for money. This isn't hurting crack dealers or people that are. This is only hurting children with seizure disorders, cancer patients, veterans with PTSD. That's who gets hurt by this kind of bullshit, and no one else. No one else by this kind of shit. Which is why you have to step out. It's why I get so animated and so angry and a little bit off the chain about this bullshit, because this is only targeting people that are the most at risk and the people that need this the most. It's the most heartless bullshit that's out there, and they have to be called out for it.
Well,
Let's go into the next one here. Sorry. I get very angry. This is another one from the cannabis.com. Maryland High Court steps in, but medical cannabis licensing still on hold. So,
yep.
there's a new court ruling in Baltimore. Actually, I think we touched on this earlier.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, it
we
was
did.
I was actually going to mention, I was like, that sounds similar to the other one you mentioned earlier.
Sorry, I put the articles together on 2 separate days, and I didn't double check the articles.
Okay.
Iowa's CBD program starts July 1st, but they don't have any legal suppliers.
That's like me. Well, there's a couple states like that.
Manufacturers in other states are questioning whether or not they should invest because they're not sure whether enough people will enroll in the limited program to make it worth self-sustaining. Iowa's medical marijuana oil program will start in weeks, but obtaining the medicine will be difficult, and manufacturers said it's unclear if the state's efforts will be viable. The cannabis oil program approved during this, and this is from Cannabis.com. Will begin July 1st. There is no immediate supplier of the oil states in question whether enough people will enroll in the limited program to make it self-sustaining. Last week, nonpartisan legislative which allow cannabis oil for those suffering from cancer, multiple sclerosis, seizures, HIV, AIDS, Crohn's disease, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, untreatable pain, terminal illness with life expectancy of under 1 year, and a few other diseases. But they don't have anyone that's actually able to produce it or sell it, or even any companies that are legally growing it at a commercial scale right now. So the likelihood of you being able to acquire it when it's legal is pretty much next to zero. So this is, again, this is what happens when you build an overly restrictive, overly bullshit medical marijuana program. Is, you know what happens? Your patients don't even get the option of medicine because no company will even step in to even attempt to produce it in your state. So what are these patients supposed to do? They have to leave the state in order to even survive.
What is sad is that in Iowa, all the farms are closed down because of Indiana, Illinois, all those farms are closed down, and hemp production and things like that would just bolster their economy and build this country. You want to build this country back and make it great again? Let the farmers grow hemp. You know?
What was the poster in World War II? Hemp for victory.
Right.
Remember that shit?
Then they destroyed like millions and millions and millions of seeds after the war. They destroyed all the hemp, they mowed down the crops, turned it under, destroyed all the seeds because they didn't need ropes for the ships, and they didn't need, whatever, clothing or whatever. Yeah, it's sad. Sad. But you want to give the farmers back their land and have production? Grow hemp.
Yep.
Let them grow hemp. Iowa, yep, you better get off your ass. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like Montana may collect $1 million in medical marijuana taxes in their first year. They're going all out. Hey, Steve?
Yep, the Will initially be 4% of gross sales, which is one of the lowest tax rates of anybody in the country. If you consider Colorado, which is a 10% wholesale and 15% retail, which I believe we have another article coming up on Nevada. Nevada copied Colorado's tax bracket, which we'll touch on in a little bit. So, yeah, that'd be cool to see. Montana, again, another Western state, much more conservative than a lot of other states. So it was a little bit surprising. Again, super restrictive medical law, but slow but steady progress is being made.
Isn't that Robert Redford's state?
I don't know who that is.
He owns practically an entire state, Montana or Wyoming. He bought, like when you could buy like a million acres, $1 an acre. He did. He bought all that so nobody could fuck it up. So,
there you go.
Yeah, I think it might be Montana. I think Robert's probably active, pro cannabis anyway.
That was from the cannabis.co.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I can't see that part.
No, that's cool. I just want to make sure we're citing the websites for all the articles to read to make sure the people are getting credit.
Yep.
The next article also comes from the cannabis.co, and it has to do with forfeiture laws. Supreme Court limits government seizures of assets in drug conspiracy cases. So basically, this is going to dramatically limit how much they can do asset forfeiture in drug-related cases. Washington Supreme Court is placing new limits on the government's ability to seize assets from people convicted of drug crimes, but receives little of the illegal proceeds. Unanimous ruling on Monday comes Justice Department moves to impose harsher punishments for drug trafficking and related crimes, reverses Obama-era policies. This case involves a Tennessee man convicted of his role selling iodine water purification filters to methamphetamine makers. Terry Honeycutt helped sell more than 20,000 filters at his brother's hardware store. Prosecutors said both his brothers knew the iodine was used by local meth cooks. Honeycutt's brother pleaded guilty to forfeited $200,000 of the $270,000 in profits. The government tried to get the remaining $70,000 from Honeycutt, but he argued that he wasn't responsible for it since he didn't personally see any profits from the scheme. The Federal Appeals Court ruled against Honeycutt, agreeing with the prosecution, but Justice Sentenin Sotomayor said that, in her opinion, the High Court that forfeiture laws are limited to property and defendants themselves actually acquired as a result of the crime, and overturned the original conviction. So he doesn't have to pay that extra $70,000. This is a huge case law for forfeiture laws and related to drug cases, and will have a huge implication on future drug prosecutions.
Oh, so that's how you're tying it into cannabis. I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what got me
So
thinking.
just so you guys are aware, once in a while I might have a weird article that's related to our culture or scene or politics or whatever, and it might not make sense off the bat, but it will be relevant. It might just take me a second to explain. But basically,
it's about the case law.
It's about case law. Just as Micah was explaining earlier, he explained about how he helped set case law with the butane extraction, how they can't actually test for it, even though they'll claim up and down that they can. In court, when they actually have to prove it through evidence, they can't. And then you got them dead to rights. So,
and we've already proved that through the one case of your roommate tonight, right? That case, news story number one.
Repeat that.
Case law is like passing a little bit. It's like setting a standard without passing a law.
So yeah, for those of you that don't know, case law is like setting a standard for future law convictions or future court convictions. So if you set a case law and a judge rules a certain way, you can reference that case and have a case thrown out because of it, because the judge ruled a certain way in a previous case.
No, because case law is set by juries.
But it's set by juries.
And it doesn't actually give cases.
I'm sorry, it won't get it thrown out of court, but what it will do is set precedents so that they know how to rule.
There's a gray area.
Actually, is what they're doing is they're telling you that the lawyers are reciting precedents to the judge.
Exactly.
that
Exactly. It helps
cite
inform the judge on how to prosecute or not
that cite
prosecute.
case law on how to rule on an objection.
I'm
Like
sorry. It helps the DEA. It helps the DEA when trying to convict.
Oh, it can go both ways. You can go both ways.
Oh, yeah, but in general, DAs will drop laws in cases where it's not in their favor. Yeah. So as a previous precedent, it's not getting a conviction because of a certain case law. They're made
Okay.
to sure
Well,
to affect
maybe
that,
we
but-
should follow this up next week, Steve, after we do some research on the case
Yeah, we'll
law.
have Micah back on the show, and he can explain the whole thing top to bottom.
That'd be awesome too, because he did a great job telling the story earlier.
Yeah, you know what? He's all eager to do it. I'll just give the mic to him for a second.
Go. That roll on.
Hello again, everybody. It's what's in the cup. That's the problem. No, I'm just giving Steve grief here. Case law is kind of complex because it's not actually a law. It doesn't tell anybody what to do or how to do it. What case law is when there's a gray area that there's no law written for, such as cannabis extraction hasn't officially been regulated by California. So there were no laws on what you could and couldn't do it with, volatile, involatile. Now they have like 7 different types of licenses for however you want to do it, and you can buy a license to do it with butane. But what case law is for that particular gray area, they had myself plus a little over 100 people rounded up in SWAT team raids, kind of the same week, and I was the first one to go actually take it to trial. And everybody said I was nuts because I did it with a public defender. But the trick was I just had to make him care. Now, what case law means is because there's no regulation on making butane honey oil, the jury sets the standard kind of for future cases. So everybody, the police were eagerly standing by waiting on the ruling in my case from the jury, because they got 96 other people. They just want to press through and either get us all incarcerated or get them the fuck out of jail. And so when the jury came back not guilty on all counts, when one of them's a sheriff, we expected the sheriff that was on the jury to kind of be the holdout. But when they came back as unanimous acquittal and with a public defender as the lawyer, it kind of shakes the columns of the district attorney's office as well as the police, because can't really talk much about it, but currently, like I've got a lawsuit ready to hand to the police department about the mishandling of my case. All said and done, and this is a conservative estimate, that Americans for Safe Access, I recommend everybody, if there's an Americans for Safe Access chapter in your state or city, join it. Aside from NORML, they're the second largest pro-cannabis lobby in the country. Terry Best was Cannabis Activist of the Year 2015. Her and her mother have been patients of mine for 7 years. She sat where my mom would have sat if my family was in California for they don't live here. So I would have had nobody on my side of the courtroom, but I had Cannabis Activist of the Year, Terry Best, sitting on my side of the courtroom. Little old ladies wearing, end prohibition now, green shirts, handing out jury nullification pamphlets on all the breaks. They're very good at what they do in terms of being a pro-cannabis lobby. Can't speak highly enough about them. But so they kind of helped me tally some numbers. The city, all said and done, spent just under $2 million trying to put me in jail for marijuana. And what they came up with was, 500 grams of butter, 1.2 grams of flour, 1,000 grams of shake. I would say they found extraction tubes, but they couldn't be found when the jury wanted to see them. So I guess they didn't find any extraction tubes. But I did have extraction tubes. They were old and dusty, and even in the police pictures, like they'd been locked in a back closet of my garage for probably 6 months prior to all this happening. But case law essentially tells the DA and the police, like, don't fucking waste any more money pursuing these types of cases, because if a public defender and a guy with no money can convince 12 people unanimously that, like, this isn't worth, you're not going to get convictions out of all the money you spent. Not the head DA, but the member of the district attorney's office, the prosecutor of my case, retired right after, under pressure right after my case. So did the lead detective of Team 9, which is kind of San Diego's most hardcore anti-drug, like, raid SWAT team squad. If you just Google San Diego Team 9, you'll come up with horror stories. Like, that's 16 guys dressed like Call of Duty, and a helicopter showed up to take me to jail, and I'm 5'8", 140 pounds. They walked in and said, "Which one of you guys is Mika?" And that was kind of red flag for me right away. Like, if they don't even know what the fuck I look like they haven't done any investigation. That's when I, like, right away was just like, I remained silent. But so case law, essentially, to bring it back to point, is a jury telling not necessarily lawmakers, but those that enforce the law, how to handle future cases. If the people are saying, like, fuck no, we're not going to send this guy to jail for, he didn't have any children at risk, he didn't, we're talking about cannabis here, not manufacturing some narcotic, like, but just to get a jury seated, we had to go through 150 jurors. That's 3 roomfuls, and they had to use a special law that's on the books specifically for jury selection. Typically what they do in court is they read your charges and the legal definitions of those charges, and those are both very scary. It's like, 150 people came in and heard felony manufacture, felony child abuse, felony child endangerment, and then the legal definition of those, which are very broad and could include, like, up to and including potential death for children or whatever. And it makes you sound like a real piece of shit. Like, I feel like everybody in the room, like, fuck this guy. And all 150, every single 3 times in a row, a full courtroom of jurors raised their hand and said they could not be impartial jurors based on the nature of the charges. And so when that happens, the 4th roomful, nobody saw that, Steve. Nobody saw that except me. Steve just ate shit in a wheelchair. So the 4th room full of people that came, we basically gone through 150 jurors. The 4th one came in and they enacted SB whatever this rule is for courtroom procedures, where they told the jurors, like, okay, we're going to give you more information than most jurors get before a case because we're having problems finding people that can remain impartial based on the charges. So they read my charges, felony manufacture of a controlled dangerous substance, felony child abuse, felony child endangerment. Child endangerment is actually a worse felony, which seems kind of backwards to me. Like, child endangerment's letting your kid ride down a hill on a skateboard with no helmet. Child abuse is using it in an incorrect way. But so the came through. They were read the charges, legal definitions of those charges, and then a clarification on every one of them. So they'd say felony manufacture of a controlled dangerous substance and what that entails. Basically, it sounds like you have a meth lab. That's what most people assume. And they so then they said, well, we're going to let you know interest is cannabis. It's a concentrated form of cannabis, often called butane honey show. And then you kind of, the whole sense of the room shifted, and you kind of watched, I'm looking at the jurors as the whole time, because I'm trying to pick and choose who's viewing me as a human from the pool. You watch the intelligent people go, huh? Cannabis? Felony manufacture? And then they say felony child abuse, felony child endangerment. Read those, and everybody's, kind of, fuck this guy again. And they say, well, but we're going to clarify and let you know that the abuse is not any type of physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, or sexual abuse, and you kind of watch people go, huh? Again, like, well, on weed, and like he wasn't hurting or actually abusing his kid. Like, what's it about? And then they said, the child abuse and child endangerment charges stem from potentially from the harm that could have happened manufacturing this concentrated marijuana. And that was that nobody excused themselves from the jury pool that time, but the first 3 roomfuls, 50 people all raised their hand like, I can't be an impartial juror. And they all have to stand up and tell the court why they can't be. And it was just like 150 people in a row, like, fucking meth ruined my family, and my brother got murdered by my dad over abuse and stuff. And like, with those particular charges, everybody assumes like I had a meth lab on the bottom bunk and a kid on top. Yeah.
Just to clarify on that, because I've gone through three separate jury trials. Just because you disagree with the law doesn't mean that you're not impartial. I've actually been I've vied for jury nullification in a particular court case involving a drug conviction. It didn't end up being conviction, but they tried to convict this guy of a drug conviction, which was actually the guy. First off, the guy wasn't a drug dealer and he wasn't even a drug user. He just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But just because you disagree with it doesn't mean you have to abstain. Staying in a court case and doing jury nullification because you disagree with an unjust law is absolutely, acceptable and legally responsible. Thomas
It's your
Jefferson
duty
said,
as an American.
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson said it himself. If a law is unjust, it is not only your right, but it's your duty as an American to disobey.
Yeah, so case law, I got really sidetracked there for a minute. Case law just means that the next, a lot of people got let into jail after my case because the DA understood like we can't waste any more time or money on these 90 people if a public defender and some random guy that we raided like happened to have the balls to stand up for it. But if 12 people are not sending them to jail for the 3 felonies that we thought were a slam dunk, we're not going to waste time or effort on that. And it kind of forces them to go back to like doing their real job of like, go chase some criminals or, go bust a meth lab or some gangbangers or some guns coming across the border. We live in San Diego County. There's no reason there's no reason at all for 16 people dressed like Call of Duty. And I don't even know how much helicopter costs to keep in the air. Like I said, Americans for Safe Access helped me with the calculations, but just under $2 million was spent on my raid, the few days that I spent in jail, paying the deputies, all of the time for the district attorney's office, putting together the case, paying their expert witnesses, selecting a jury, paying the judge. All those things cost money. I want to know how much it costs for the helicopter pilot and the fuel for them to be circling my house for an hour the whole time it was happening. But the case law kind of lets them know, like, don't fucking do this again, or it's going to be really embarrassing. Like, I kind of thumbed my nose at the DA a number of times. Like, look, you don't want me to go to the press and tell them how much money you spent on little old me and a couple grams of weed, and I've had my medical card and my caregiver's card for 7 years in a row without lapse. And just so happens that the Cannabis Activist of the Year for the nation was one of my patients, and her mom helped support me through everything. I think if you Google my real name, that's the first thing that comes up probably, is that this article written by Terry Best. But case law just basically says, like, without changing the law, it changes how law enforcement handles those types of cases, and just helps them pick and prioritize what they can and will get convictions on versus, who's going to lose their job. Because it's the lead detective of the Vice Squad and the resigned under pressure immediately following my case. So that's what case law is. If there's gray areas, like, take it to trial. You could set case law in your favor. At the same time, it's a flip of a coin. If you get a shitty jury, you could very well be setting case law in their favor. But it's cannabis. I'd rather be jailed for cannabis than free for pleading guilty to some shit I didn't do. So that's case law in a nutshell.
If you're convicted for cannabis, you're gonna get let out within the next 5 years. Because of
Yeah, I'd been to the ASA meeting recently where they were freeing the life patients. Yeah, if you're a cannabis patient anyway, you're gonna get let out of jail soon, particularly for felony cases. Like they're not gonna be holding prisoners there for much longer. Even then though, like the Marijuana Lifers Project, I believe, is almost nonprofit anymore because almost all the people who were in jail for life for cannabis, Obama pardoned a lot of them on his way out, and a couple more got let out. I guess all under Obama. Yeah, Trump hasn't let any of them out yet. Everybody call the White House and tell Trump to release anybody in federal prison for life for cannabis.
Tweet him.
Yeah, tweet him. He really loves fucking Twitter. So, all right, I'm gonna give this back over to Steve.
Thanks, Micah.
All right, no problem. I couldn't let him botch case law that much because there's no case law
Well,
doesn't mean anything.
I was explaining it too, but you couldn't hear me. I don't think. I'm not sure if you could hear, but I was making a simpler explanation. But hearing your story, that would have been a great Thursday night on the regular podcast story right there.
I think I did.
You need to come on Thursday night. Tell Steve you need to be a guest Thursday night and tell that story on the regular podcast. You know.
Oh, I'd love to. I got all my papers right over here. I told a short part of it in. No, I told the very, very abridged version in November or December on the Thursday night podcast.
Oh, did you? Oh.
When, Ken from Ouroboros was on that day, so like he got the most of the time. I was more interested in learning from him than rehashing my shitty prior year. Thank y'all for listening. I would
Glad
be back to DJ your outro. Oh, me too, brother.
We have a winner. We have a winner. Oh, Lordy. But that was off the Supreme Court limits, wasn't it, Brain Grow?
What's that now?
Wasn't that off the Supreme Court limits that we just did all that? Limits that asset?
Oh, I have no idea. I couldn't tell you, to be honest.
We're on Hawaii Medical Marijuana Dispensary ready to sell.
That's what I thought too. Yeah, we're in Hawaii. Woo!
So Hawaii is again from the cannabis.co. Thanks again for Micah for bringing us that insightful information on case law and explaining his own personal experience. It's not often you get someone with literally set case law that can talk on the show, especially in relation to cannabis. So there's probably less than 150 people in the country that are on his caliber, so in that regard, so big props to him for helping all of us. The next article we have is Hawaii Medical Marijuana Dispensaries ready to sell. Hawaii Medical Marijuana Dispensaries still have yet to make a single sale after more than a year of statewide legalization. The first of 8 dispensary licenses issued throughout the Hawaiian Islands. Monday, dispensaries cannot sell the drug until the health department certifies laboratories to test the quality of the marijuana. So they're still held up, but they expect the first dispensary to open this summer at some point.
That'd be some good stuff.
That was a good article, quick and dirty. Arkansas expects 20 to 40,000 people to be registered for medical marijuana within the state. Medical marijuana registration cards will cost about $50 a year, and under the proposed rules, Arkansas driver's license or state ID will be required to obtain one. And they expect to generate around one. They expect to generate around, or they expect the program. I'm sorry, let me restart that again. The Senate and House Public Health Committee on Monday that running Arkansas's medical marijuana program will cost about $1.5 million per year. Voters last year approved marijuana use by people in certain medical conditions. The state will soon begin accepting applications for potential growers and dispensaries. That's good to know.
I love it.
Actually, as a random update to that, if you're curious about Puerto Rico expects to issue about 100,000 medical marijuana licenses in total. and they've currently issued about 4,000 as of the end of this month.
That's the 51st state.
Yeah, eventually, one day.
Yeah.
What we should do is make like a conglomerative state amongst the islands, and just include like Guam and like all the random ass, like the Virgin Islands and the random fucking places that the U.S.
Well,
owns.
But
You know,
that's up to them. They don't really want to
but
be.
hear me out. Hear me out. Those people pay taxes towards the U.S. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they
Well,
should
they all-
have. So they should have Senate and House representation. Like even like fuck like forget the fact of whether or not they represent as a state. They should still have those two things. They should still have a senator, and they should still have House of Representatives, and just count all the islands population-wise as one state. You know what I mean?
Well,
As far
I'm
as
all-
population, as far
I'm
as the number of senators and or not senators, but the number of House of Representative people.
I think we would all be all for that. The question is, though, again, here's Big Brother telling them what to do. Do they want us to make them a state? That's the question. It's not whether,
Well, here's the deal.
you know, see,
That's
now
what I'm saying.
you're
That's what I'm
the
saying.
population of the islands down there, and they might go, "Fuck that." That's what
Well, that's
I'm.
what
Well, they're already being controlled
That's
by
what
the
I'm saying.
United States. It's
Regardless of
basically like they're
whether-
being dictated.
Well,
Like
I
they're
don't-
being dictated
Regardless
by
of
us.
whether or not they want to be a state, like, okay, cool, don't want to be a state, that's fine. I still think because you're paying taxes and because you're paying into the pool, you have earned the right to have 2 senators and however many state representatives represent the collective population of all the various island nations that the United States
Exactly.
owns.
You should have the same benefits.
That's what I'm saying. They should have the same representation in government, and they should have the same, because you know why? Because they pay taxes. They earned it. There's no reason they shouldn't be. Yeah, Washington D.C.
I don't
doesn't
have
get it
that
either.
much.
You know what?
I think
You
they
know what?
should.
Here's what you do. You lump in Washington D.C. with it because they're not represented either, and they want representation. So
Exactly.
lump them all together. You know what? Take Washington D.C. and all the island nations that the United States happens to own. Lump them all together and make it the outer territories. The senator representing the outer territories and the whatever the fuck, and you know what, but because it's not right for those people to not be represented. As I've traveled around quite a bit. If they pay taxes, they earn the representation, in my opinion.
think they should get representation too. I'm just arguing that they don't want us to be coming in there making a government. Because if they got a senator and they got representation in Congress, it means that our government is going to be there running their place where they live. And I don't think that's what we need to be doing. I have no problem with helping them having representation. I think all human beings should be created equal and should be treated equally across the world without regard to state lines and country lines. But the fact is when you say, well, they should just have it. Well, they don't probably want it though. I mean, that's just my thing. I love what you're saying, but I don't think the people there, if they were polled, would really want to have a U.S. senator living in their country, because then that would mean they really were being controlled by the U.S. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I love to invite, because I'm not trying to argue other than the fact that I'm arguing on the side of the people over there. Like, I'm not sure they want it. But what do you guys think? Anybody else? What do you guys in chat think?
I'm sorry, repeat that last part. Sorry.
What do the people in chat think? I mean, anybody else, or what? Brain Grow, what do you think about
what specifically again?
Well, personally, I feel like they can only benefit from it simply because it gives them a voice. But I also see where you're coming from. Maybe they're happy with the way things are, and things like that. You start having a person who
like the independent
represents you in the environment, then you can definitely start enacting changes that maybe not all of the people necessarily agree with, but because this is a quote unquote elected official, then then it makes it legit in the eyes of the American people. So I definitely see where you're coming from, Roger.
Well, I'm looking at with the people down there. What I'm thinking is, all right, let me put it in this perspective. If I move to the Caribbean, I sure as fuck do not want a U.S. senator in a building over there and saying U.S. government in the fucking Caribbean, because I moved there to get the fuck out of this. Right?
Well, here's the bit. Here's the
Right.
bit. If you're paying taxes to the United States whilst living in the Caribbean, so you live in the U.S. Virgin Islands, you want the representation. You're paying taxes. You're paying for the representation.
Theoretically, yes.
But
Theoretically, you want the representation.
You're inviting the U.S. to come down there and set up more government than
Well, if
there
you
is.
don't want that, move to Jamaica or some other country.
Democracy, in an ideal democracy, then that theory makes sense.
Oh,
but
no,
definitely.
we all know that that's bullshit. But I'm just saying the fact that, like, at the very least, if you're paying the money, you should get the representation as a result. I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. I
We
mean
all
that
agree.
logic completely makes sense
We
in
all
every
agree with
aspect.
You've earned it at that point. Is my point.
We all agree with that.
You're paying into the pool. You've bought it at that point. All right.
Yeah. Good discussion there. Good discussion.
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm not hating on our government all the way. I mean, but again, this one's supposed to be a political show, so we can have
Right.
So. With the California Assembly, what are they doing now? Is this the next one? I think.
I actually kind of feel like it's necessary to bring up our side of politics versus the side that you'll get from the media as well. So.
Well, yeah, we're all honest, aren't we?
From a realistic point of view.
I think this is the best, the most, I love hearing the point of view of people that live in different areas of the country as well. And are well traveled, as I'm well traveled. So, all right, I'm sorry, Steve. You ready for the next show? Next category? Next news story?
Tories want to cut. The next story is brought to us by the previous story as well. I'm sorry. First off, let me go back. Was it?
Sorry, everybody.
The Arkansas article was brought to you by Cannabis.co, and the California Assembly preventing cooperation with federal government was brought to you by Leafly. The next article is the Tories want to cut homegrown cannabis from Canada bill. Basically, the Tories in Canada want to get rid of the home growing specification in the Canadian legalization bill. As we all know, that's complete bullshit. You should be able to grow your own damn medicine.
Absolutely.
It's a plant, and it's not like it's toxic. You can't overdose on it. If your neighbor's dog runs over and eats it, he won't die. If your neighbor's kid runs over and eats it, he won't die. If he steals it and smokes it, he won't die. There's no reason for this.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about medically.
Absolutely. So the next article is policies on legalization cannabis from Labor, Lib Dems, and Conservatives General Election Manifesto compared to 2017. Basically, the Conservatives in England and the other two factions that you have the option, both the Green Party and the Liberals, are looking for like an 18 and over cannabis legalization bill, and then the Conservatives are looking to make it all illegal. So, I guess that's all you need to know if you're voting based on cannabis and you're in the UK and you're listening. Vote for the Conservatives. But you probably smoke cannabis, the likelihood of you voting for Theresa May is probably close to zero. So, not really a big deal there. But she also came out against internet privacy this week.
Wow.
An attack. She used the first statement she made directly attacked internet privacy, which is, as we all know, complete bullshit. The same shit they tried to do with they actually ended up doing with the states. Don't let them do that again in the UK. The Justice Department turns attention. The next article is brought to us by the mirror.co.uk. The next article is brought to you by leafly.com. Justice Department turns attention to the cannabis enforcement. Basically, Jeff Sessions has ordered the Justice Department to take a second look at the enforcement instructions that the Obama administration gave regarding to cannabis court cases, and possibly reviewing or revising them. As we all know, Jeff Sessions is a racist piece of shit, and he's also very anti-drugs. He's got his head stuck up his own ass, and he's still trying to fight the drug war, which is nor drug addicts, nor does it help reduce crime. Hopefully, when we get Trump impeached and Pence impeached, and hopefully him removed at the same time, we'll be able to overturn all this bullshit. Which much longer. By the end of the year, there's no way this guy's not getting impeached. The next article is by medday.com. Cannabis-derived compound may help treat schizophrenia in children. Schizophrenia
put you to sleep.
Americans, or 5 million adults. CBD has an extremely one of the best response rates of any medication they've ever tried for schizophrenia patients. When they do treated with isolated, it's published in Nature, a new study. New South Wales, Australia. Yeah. As we've all known, cannabis doesn't cause medical or mental illness, and now there's actual medical studies and published medical topic. The next article is by leafly.com. Nevada lawmakers set cannabis tax at retail, 15% wholesale. Just so you guys are aware, that's very close to what Colorado's. That's not ridiculous. It's a little like. It should be like 5. I think we could all agree is reasonable, and maybe a 10% wholesale. I think is reasonable. Up to. Anything beyond that's kind of ridiculous. Wait, what do you guys think?
I'll tell you what. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, we haven't heard from you for a bit.
Sorry, guys. I've actually had my headphones off, so I haven't been able to hear very well. My headphones died. So, what was the question about?
Nevada enacted a 15% wholesale tax for recreational cannabis for this year. What I suggested that it should be closer to like 10%. What did I say? 5, 7 or 8% retail tax. 10% absolute max.
All right, yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. Like 10% should be the maximum. I mean, because what do you tax everything else at? You know, it's only an extra fucking grab for money. And it's, again, it's obvious to anybody who has their eyes open, you know? So it should be taxed the same as everything else. You know what I'm saying? If not lower, you know, we're talking about a medicine here. You know, when do you tax people's medicine normally when you go buy it at the pharmacy? Do you have to pay taxes on medicine that you can go buy over the counter? You know, you don't have to pay taxes on all that shit. So why should you even have to pay taxes at all? Especially if you're a patient, you know, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, so I know in Colorado, at least when I used to live there, it was 2.7. Completely that's not that much. 3%, 5% or less. Okay, cool. They get a little bit of tax, and this is why I think it's fair. Hear me out. Normally you'd be like, oh, this is medicine, but here's why it's fair. They need a little bit of money to do the paperwork for the medical licensing. They need money to have inspectors to go in and make sure these guys aren't spraying weird shit on your medicine and making
Right.
sure that they aren't doing unhanded weird shit, to make sure these guys are following by state law, make sure they're not, you know, again, doing weird illegal shit. And just to protect it, you need a small amount for infrastructure to support a legal medical market. That's why even for medical, I'm okay with up to 5%. That's straight. Yeah, you need money to run the machine.
You don't need
And inspectors.
Yeah, you don't need much more than what the restaurant industry needs, to be completely honest.
Yeah, but well, maybe a little bit more because you wanted to allow them to do surprise inspections and stuff. I want them to be a little bit more harsh than maybe even the restaurant industry, because this stuff is heated up. And say, for example, someone uses Eagle 22 months, man, that'll be the last 2 months of your life. You
Right.
can't do that.
Right. I totally agree with that. You know what? I do not believe in regulation of much in this life, but the one thing I believe in regulation of is medical marijuana. And the only way and because there are exactly what Steve is saying, exactly the reason is why, because people spray toxic shit on their plants. We have to make sure that doesn't get to the medical marijuana patient. That could be your grandma. That could be your mama. You know, you don't want your little sister
Exactly.
sucking
Imagine it's your
toxic
grandfather,
fumes.
32 years old, and you're giving him cannabis extract. You don't want him to get Eagle 20 in his shit, man. Like, he'll die, especially with a compromised immune system, giving him arsenic. So this is why you want to have, and regardless if you're in a non-legal state yet, you want to push for potency testing across the board. You want to push for pesticide testing across the board, and you want to push for mold testing across the board. Why? To protect you and to protect honest growers that know correctly without cheating and without resorting to harsh chemicals that will hurt you. That are like the tenets of things that, and I testified with the health board there on what to teach on or what to regulate on. I said, do a potency thing, do a pesticide thing, and make sure that you're getting no mold on it, because those are the things that are going to actually hurt people with this product. You know, and not only that, the potency thing comes down to, if I buy liquor at the store, I know if it's 3.2, I know if it's 35%, I know if 50%, I know what the percentage is. I should know the same for cannabis. It's no different.
Very good point. Well, that was a really good note there, Steve. So how you feeling?
I didn't even know I was in Jamaica, and did you? Like, you know, I've dug into my channel. So the next article. So the last article is from Leafly. This article is from 420intel.com. Women could use medical marijuana for pain. Touch on that? Yeah, we did. Never mind.
Yep.
Sorry, guys.
That was a
I
good
just-
one too. That was a very
I
good.
need a little bit more prep before the show.
We're gonna work a little
Sorry,
harder
just
next week. Get
Yeah,
some-
next week we'll have this a little bit more fine-tuned. Oh, the show might be a little bit shorter too, because I didn't intend it to be quite this long. I apologize.
That's why I threw you a note. That's why I threw you a note to say, "Hey, brother."
Well, we also had a cool random guest with the roommate today. So, 420intel.com brought us the next article. Jamaica Noda edible ganja products as Rasaya V calls for cannabis orientated. So, I could actually speak on this a little bit personally. Met Rasaya V, and he ordered or it was on the edibles. For those of you who don't know, they gave the cannabis market in Jamaica to the Rastafarian Church since they were oppressed for so long. Ras Iv is the guy that has the last word on anything cannabis related. That is my bodyguard slash social liaison there in Jamaica, I guess, for lack of better explanation. I mean, there's other things too, but close business. He knows him personally, and I had a chance to talk to him in person at night. And, go to a couple over there and stuff. It was very cool. But yeah, he says reasons being most of the individuals who provide these products have little or no scientific knowledge about ganja. For example, the ratio of ganja used and other ingredients in the preparation of edibles, he says. So, those of you who don't know, ganja is how they refer to cannabis in Jamaica for the most part. It says whoever does against edibles, Rasay took a jab at the National Council of Organizing Hypocrisy and is very concerned about the negative approach being taken by the ministry regarding ganja, said Rasay said the keynote speaker of the ganja-related events in the globe, I do not hear the same level of concern, nor do I see cigarettes or alcohol. Which he's absolutely right. So, at least on that part. So, France, again, and also from 420 Intel, efficacy decriminalize cannabis by ending prison terms. So France looks like it's going to totally decriminalize cannabis here shortly.
Oh,
by the
that's
end
good.
of 27. Hell yeah. Trying to see what the possession limit was. In this article, I read 2 articles on this. One of the possession limit, I guess to say, but anyways, but basically for personal use, you'd be all right then after this year. The next article comes from 420intel.com. Or I'm sorry, New Hampshire legislature decriminalizes marijuana possession, sends pro printer's desk. For those of you who mentioned this last week on a podcast that New Hampshire was getting pretty close to legalization. It's just whether or not the governor decides to or not. But the governor already said that he plans 640 and applauded the state legislature on reform. So good. It'll just decriminalize possession within a matter of months. So just a criminalization bill, but still better than
Yeah, I mean, decriminalizing it
forward
is
progress.
just as helpful.
Yep. 420intel.com again. Nevada governor vetoes 2 marijuana bills. Others awaiting action, which we touched on earlier. He vetoed 2 bills. He vetoed Senate Bill 16, which would allow businesses to partner with labor medical marijuana apprenticeships. He also vetoed Bill the legislature passed the bill on party line vote in the Senate for 12 to 26 to 13. The bill would make the apprenticeship program more difficult, the state said. The governor also struck down Bill 374, which would allow opioid addiction to the list of qualifying conditions for medical marijuana, which we all know should be absolutely a
Oh
qualifying.
my God, man, that would have been awesome if that one would have passed. That would have been great.
Yeah, dude, I get these people hurting. The people that need cannabis, the drug addict, not people out there drug dealing. They're only hurting the people that need the stuff from medical bullshit.
Big pharma pulling them strings.
Yep, and that's exactly what it is.
They're like, hold up, no, we need our patients. We need our opioid patients to stay addicted to our medicine so we can keep on raking in the dough.
They did pass a bill that would allow low THC industrial hemp for research grown on tribal lands. However.
Oh yeah, cool.
Minor victory, I guess, on that one. Funny thing to end the show here, since we're article after this, and then we got our funny article of the week. Secret Service relax marijuana policy in a bid to swell from 420intel.com. The Secret Service made it so that you can have a previous marijuana. You could have previously tested hot for marijuana or have a previous marijuana conviction. They'll be hired for Secret Service. Basically, no marijuana conviction, unless it was a felony-related conviction, would prevent you from being in the Secret Service. Yeah. So.
I think it was based on drug use, because I saw that one. Yeah, just usage. Just like if you have used it. I think I mean it's as simple.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I was thinking that it was as simple as if they ask you if you have used it in the past, because I know that's how a lot of the drug related questions on the exams or whatever, that's how they go, is if you have used it, period. But yeah, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you still can't use it. Like if you test positive for it when you apply for while you're working for them at any point in time, you're still banned. But you can have used it previously, and you're not fucked, basically.
Right, that makes sense.
Well, that's decent because because it'd be all about being current. Currently,
well, yeah, obviously,
law.
If you're protecting the president, even if
even
if it's dipshit McOopaloopa over there.
But if you say I smoked pot at my senior prom with my girlfriend, it doesn't you out.
I think we can all agree we probably don't want the Secret Service agents smoking, actually protecting the guys. Well, maybe not this particular president, but
I was about to say that's arguable right now. Yeah, that's arguable.
During the current president, maybe not, but you know what I mean.
No dabbing.
Oh, shit.
Maybe that's what you have to do, is just offer the Secret Service dab.
So, was there? See, before you get to that last funny story, was there anything else in the chat? Because
there was one more. I got one more. I guess. No, I do have one more. I got one more.
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
Then we're going to chat. So, the last one was California asked major insurance to cover cannabis industry. So, this is also California Insurance Jones wants to change the fact that it's not covered. I'm a big believer in competition. Medical marijuana coverage, which would be, oh man, you know how many people would move to California?
Oh man, seriously, that goes right along the lines of what I was just talking about. I mean, If insurance covers your other medicine, then hell, so should it cover your cannabis, because cannabis is medicine, you know?
Hmm. So,
That's badass.
all right. Is there any questions or any other things from chat? If anyone wants to contact Chicken Hole, since he was in chat, he says DORGAN99 at iCloud.com. It just says great podcast.
Thanks, man.
Everyone, that's what we're doing for this new podcast. We'll try to make it a little shorter next time. My intention wasn't to make it quite so long, although I just kind of hit the big things, the big article. Like we covered a bunch of good stuff. I feel like our content was really
Yeah,
good.
yeah, we hit a good stride there for a while. I feel like this
Do you
was
guys in
pretty
chat
fun for
feel
me
like
personally.
do you guys feel like the content was good this episode? I feel like we got a lot of really good topics.
Yeah, I think with at least a forewarning of a day or so where we could look at it and prepare a little bit and maybe categorize it. Like if you got stories
We'll
in Arkansas, we can put them all together and
for sure.
stuff like that. But other than that, it was a lot of fun. And the abridged version, right? If I'm using that correctly, would probably be pretty damn good.
For sure, next time this is our first time, and I ended up having less time today than I anticipated to extra. So I'll get I was trying to be back today and got here back later today, so it took me a little while longer to get everything set up. So yeah, plus roommate took a one too. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that was good. That was part of the flow too. I mean, it was great.
Yeah, it was good content though.
Great content. We had some great discussions. I thought, I think Brain Girl could chime in on that too. We had some good ones there.
You work with?
Yeah, it was. That's why I said it was fun. It was entertaining for me. I enjoyed it. Good discussion.
So Chicken Hole asked, what was the name of the other organization you mentioned, like Normal, and it was no. What was the name of it before that? The one you just said. Oh, so he says it's Americans for Safe Access. Americans for Safe Access.
And that's one thing I meant to bring up earlier that I didn't forget. That might have been what I mentioned. Normal.org. That's the thing, for you guys. You can Google it this day and age, but NORML.org. Normal.org. That's where you can find out about where your concentrates, whether they've got CBD oil is legal or not. If you go to, they got a state map, and you click on your state, and it'll tell you all the laws in your state. And I think Steve can vouch for this. It's up to date, isn't it? Up to date in general.
So both Americans for Safe Access and Normal are both first, and then followed by Normal, would both be great at. So say you get arrested for cannabis, and then you get out. Go to both of those websites, and both of them are great resources, especially Americans for Safe Access, for lawyers and for legal help and for advice from people that have been through the same or worse situations than you have. And it costs nothing to be a member of Americans for Safe Access.
Wow, that's great.
And normally require a fee, so. I'm just explaining. They're both good, but Americans for Safe Access is a little bit better.
Probably because it was taken over from the corporate Normal, what Normal ended up having to turn into all those years. Great organization.
Well, there's just fewer
runners.
Interests. That's all.
But I like that Americans for Safe Access. Say that again for me.
Yep, Americans for Safe Access.
Okay, Americans for Safe Access. All right.
All right, you guys ready for the last article of the day? This one's fucking funny. All right.
That's
The
good.
last article of the day is completely ridiculous. Man smokes cannabis joint, cuts off penis, stabs mom repeatedly. All right.
He's home.
A teenager cut off his own penis and stabbed his mother with a knife during a psychotic episode brought on by potent cannabis called skunk. Supposedly. As we all know,
shit.
this is totally
A
bullshit.
potent cannabis called
Just
skunk.
for the record, this is total bullshit. We all know it's bullshit.
That's
There's
the
no
first
fucking way that
indicator.
weed
That's
is
the first indicator.
So that the story is just so comically ridiculous that's why we're laughing, because there's no way that we caused this.
It sounds like bath salts to me.
The
I was
father
gonna
of
say
teen
bath
said
salts.
drug triggered a psychotic episode and is sharing his story in an effort to spread awareness about skunk, as it's called in the
Oh,
United Kingdom.
shit.
An unidentified man started smoking marijuana when he was 16, switched to skunk, a more powerful form of cannabis, and soon became paranoid.
Shit, he was probably
From a
going
bright,
and
bubbly
getting
lab
skunked and
into a
having
waste
him
of
spray
space.
his face.
Well, this is from the Daily Caller, which is like, bullshit
Satirical.
98% of the time. But it's still one of the articles put out about weed. So I just wanted to throw this out there because it's just so fucking stupid. But we're gonna try and always end the episode with something funny or ridiculous or like on a positive note.
Or who knows?
Or we might end one with Steve taking a 3-gram dab.
Yeah,
Of alcohol.
it's cumulative and I don't know.
Oh, it was a good first time. It was a long one.
So
It was a marathon.
yeah, that was a little longer than I intended. I was only trying to do an hour to an hour and a half. I gotta work
Thanks
on
to
that
you guys in chat that hung around.
Thanks to Chicken Hole who stuck around for the whole episode. Sure, I think you're the only person stuck beginning to end, at least. There are lots of people through here for quite a long time, but the end episode ended up running so damn long. But good thing we didn't start at 6:30. That would have been a hell of an episode.
Oh lordy. Oh, we got a little bit of our kinks worked out, and we were able to follow. I was able to anyway, so it was pretty good. I had some technical difficulties tonight, as usual, which you always have in these kind of shows. But it was very enjoyable and funny. But we had some good laughs too.
Hey, Chicken Hole, repost whatever it was that got auto modded. I think I fixed it.
I'll put the link to my case in comments too. And
Yeah, Mike is Arise One says he'll put his link to his case on the description as well. I'm going to put a link to all the links that we talk about in the show on the description. So if you're interested at home, it's going to just take me a little bit because we do this all up in Excel to make it nice and neat. But that means more annoying when I copy and paste it. So I'll get that fixed. Ready? If you guys are interested, make sure you check out the show. We do another show on Thursdays called Growing with Fishes, or we do more of a grow. It's more of a grow-oriented show. Please join us then. Thanks again for watching. A big ups to Brian Grow. What's your channel? I know you have a channel. It's Coyote Grows. Right?
Yeah. I'm on YouTube. BRAYNEGRRO. I'm sorry, BRAYNEGRO. Brain Grow. I actually got around to uploading my video of the finished product of my breeding chamber. So if you're interested, make sure you go and check that out as well. And you can also find me on Instagram at BRAYNE_GRO. And I'm posting a lot more daily stuff on that, on some of the projects that I work on. So check me out on there as well if you have Instagram.
How can people find out more about you, Roger?
Well, right now I'm going to be working at the website ilovegrowingmarijuana.com, and we've got some new projects going up, and we'll be talking about that in the very near future. It seems like every week we think we're going to launch, and it's not right. It's not ready yet. So we got some ideas that are going to be very interesting. And it's a network, which is going to be an informational network. So I think it's going to be very interesting to everybody once we get the kinks ironed out. So I got a project in the works with that. And of course, I got, I'm always experimenting with my genetics from the website, That's always fun. Grow some. That's me. Grow some meds, be happy, be mellow.
Awesome. If you guys are looking to find out more, check out my YouTube channel, Potent Ponics. Email me directly, potentponics@gmail.com. Check out my website.com. And yeah, check us out on Thursdays as well for the Growing with Fishes podcast, Aquaponic Cannabis Growing Podcast, where we touch on cannabis culture as well as growing. It's more of a stoner show
Yeah.
as well as a grow show.
Aquaponics.
Alrighty, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time. We're gonna cut to the outro thanks to yeah.
Talk to your own kind. Catch you are hit about pot. No, the truth about pot. Not from folks, but from experience. Folks who know the truth about pot.